the Cajun capital of the world.
I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Brand Review said, congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene and no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another edition of Ragin' Review. Thanks to all our sponsors, as always, including Gulf Coast Bank and the Best Stop Cajun Market, and all of the other sponsors that we're about to get to in just a second. Boys, how the heck are you all doing? I see we still got not Coach Des here. As I asked you before the show, is this a thing now? Like, what are we doing?
This is a thing, man. Superstitious. I mean, why would you change anything if it's working? I dressed up as Coach Des for last week's Halloween show, and he comes out and calls his best offensive game of the year. I'm definitely not switching anything up. I hope he doesn't switch anything up. So I'm going to ride with this until we lose a game.
By the way, how's your guys' week been? Pretty good, everybody?
It's good. Good. We can't coming off a win, so that helps.
Should I just get this out the way now?
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, this happened to me. Yesterday. On my wonderful commute to work, a deer decided to collide with my vehicle, and I've been arguing with this guy on Facebook who said it was somehow my fault. Figure that one out. But yeah, a deer decided to yeet at my car yesterday. Busted up pretty bad, I will say. My car is not in good shape, but apparently Andy's calling PETA. All right. Well, so I'm a little hurt. I'm kind of sore. I took my eye patch off today. I got a little bit of glass in my eye. I was not showing up with that because I would have never lived that one down. But yeah, I'm glad I'm alive, I guess. Is that
What
I say?
Are you okay?
Oh, my God, man.
Nicholas got run over by a reindeer.
Shut up, Jerry. And I sent it to the group chat, and it became a joke. I'm like, I almost died, y'all. They were not forgiving. I'll just say that. In the group chat you're not a part of, Cole, and trust me, you don't want to be part of that group chat. They're brutal. I mean, I'm brutal too, but man.
I know.
I was about to say, like, I'm the target of a lot of this heat too.
Shut up, Jerry.
No. Don't act like you're the only one here, man.
It's because you send texts in both groups, and we see it all.
Jerry.
Whoa! Time out. I don't want to hear that hypocrisy, Lane. Don't bring that hypocrisy in here, Lane. You do the same thing.
Well,
I don't want to hear it.
doesn't start 55 different group chats to begin with.
You know you love it, Nick. You love it.
As I was saying, let's get to our sponsors, then we'll get to actual meat and potatoes of the show. I just wanted to share that with you guys. But
look, hey, before you go, I'm glad you're okay. The stories you were telling us about the injuries and the car. Look, let's be honest. It's a good thing that you're here tonight. I'll be real. I'm sure that was a little traumatic. You know.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah. That is so sweet of you. Now shut up. All right, let's get to sponsors. We'll come back.
You know what? I take it back. You know, the car should have been. I take everything I just said back.
Let's take our sponsor. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Ragin' Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Ragin' Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday, 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Ragin Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Rage and Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/rageandreview. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. Once again, thanks to our awesome sponsors. And no, we don't need an eye patch, as Bryce is asking for. And by the way, Andy, it's not that we are talking smack about KG in the other group chat. KG is a God-fearing man. I do not want him to be exposed to the blasphemy that we express in the other group chat. It's not for guys like KG, man. KG can handle it, but I'm just saying, maybe we need his prayers. Maybe I do need him in there. Boys, let's get to football and let's talk about last weekend against South Alabama. Cajuns get a huge win that they desperately needed to keep going in the fight for a bowl game. Gets them to 3 wins gets them to 3 wins on the season in their quest for 6 by the end of the year. Of course, defeating South Alabama 31-22. Not gonna go real deep into this because we did on the Gulf Coast Bank post game show, which if you tune in, we've got a new format. We go in, we give a quarter by quarter kind of breakdown of the game and give our thoughts. So if you want to get more detailed information on the game itself, you might want to go and check our last episode. At the front of the episode is where we really get into the meat and bones about it. But 31-22 win. Louisiana defeats South Alabama. Louisiana jumped out to a 31-7 lead and then kind of squandered some of it away. You know, 1 touchdown scored on blown coverage. Another one, you know, just you got to sometimes give credit to the other team who takes advantage of the soft coverage, which you're going to have defensively to try to protect the lead going forward. And they burned a whole lot of time off the clock, which helped our cause definitely. I'll start with you, KG. What are some things that stood out for you in that win against South Alabama?
Offensive consistency. I mean, this is the game that we were waiting for as Cajun fans, and it felt like we put it all together. It felt like the offensive play calling was phenomenal, as it's been the last couple of weeks. I'll be honest with y'all. I said in last week's show, I thought the play calling, you know, the run pass balance was really good, and it got even better this week. I want to say we ran the ball maybe 45 times versus somewhere in the ballpark of 17 or 18 passing attempts. I mean, that's the kind of offense we need to run. We need to be run heavy and then burn them, you know, with the pass when we can. Now, Lunch put on a passing display, 93% completion percentage, breaks the all-time Cajun record. So, I mean, he did his thing, and it's really easy to run a clean offense when your quarterback is throwing at that kind of a clip. But, I mean, not only him, let's talk about Shelton Sampson. Played the game that we expected him to play since he stepped on campus. I mean, let's say he had 6 receptions for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the kind of guy that we expected to be the clear-cut number 1 of this team. And if he can carry that momentum into the rest of this year, who's to say that you can't win these last 3 games against teams that, you know, historically you played very well against? Texas State has never beat us. Arkansas State, we have a pretty good, you know, overall against them in the rivalry that we've had with them over the years. And then you got ULM, who we all know the history behind that. So you got 3 games coming up, including this week, that you can win and get to 6-6. We're going to talk about momentum a little bit later. But no, I thought that what helped us out the most last Saturday against South Al was the consistency on offense. We took advantage of all of our opportunities in the red zone with our full red zone opportunities, where we converted 3 out of 4 touchdowns. I want to say we only had to settle for 1 field goal. That's winning football. In the past, we were getting into the red zone 4 or 5 times. We were kicking 4 or 5 field goals. It's like we were asking for a little more creativity in the red zone. Well, we finally got it. So credit to them. And the last thing, the running backs, and I'm going to include Lunch in that running back conversation, spread the ball very evenly. I want to say they combined for about 40 carries. Each of them carried the ball between 12 to 15 times. All of them had between 50 to 60 yards rushing. I want to say Zylan and Lunch had a touchdown. That is so balanced, and that is so hard for a defense to defend, because you got three guys that are consistently running a ball. I want to say our yards per carry was a little low. It was 3.5, but even that's pretty good in a college football game. And like I mentioned, Lunch throwing the ball like he did, if he can do that for the rest of the season, the sky's the limit. But that's the biggest difference, Nick, is the offensive consistency. Defense played a phenomenal game, but it wasn't all on their shoulders this week because of how well the offense played. And I do want to give a shout out real quick to Jaden Duggar, who played a hell of a football game last week and sealed the deal with the late interception.
Before I go to you, Jerry, I do want to I'm getting caught up with some comments. Chris Dumatre talking about deer sausage, brother. The damn deer got up and ran away. So, deer's fine. My car is not. Phil Martin is cooking up some alligator po' boys in honor of albino. We're going to talk about albino later in the tonight's episode. In fact, we'll have Corey on here to tell us what's planned for the weekend. Andy Thomas Sampson was a freaking dog last week, and that leads into my question to you, Jerry. How impressive was Sampson this week? We have criticized, and I say we, some of us more than others have criticized Sampson, questioning if he really wanted to be here. Is he even going to come back this season? Does he want to even play for us? And all Shelton Sampson Jr. did was make plays last weekend. And I didn't realize, I guess we keep a lid on these things, but they mentioned it in a pregame or maybe during the game that he had 2 injured fingers, one on each hand. Definitely would have contributed to some of the drops earlier in the season. So when you hear things like that and put it into context and realize what he's able to do now that he's healthy, you got to love having that weapon available for you on the offensive side of the ball.
And let's not forget, he also had a pulled hamstring that he played with for the first 4 or 5 games. And so that made a huge difference. And if it's true that he had some injuries in his hands, that goes a long way. And that's maybe the reason why we saw some drops early on. But look, I'll be honest with you. It's a shame that we're in game 9 that this had to happen, but it's better now than never. I do appreciate the fact that in the first half, I thought he played Sun Belt Conference Offensive Player of the Week type stats, the way he stepped up and made some catches. And look, Lunch made some nice throws, but there were some throws that Sheldon had to go fight for, which I thought was really impressive, especially in that final touchdown drive leading into halftime. And when you have a connection like that between a quarterback and a receiver, right? We thought in the beginning of the season it was going to be the Walker Howard, Shelton Sampson connection. The other day, it's been the Lunch Winfield, Shelton Sampson connection. And also, too, one thing that I thought he did a really good job on was the RPO. He played the RPO well. That first touchdown pass, it was a perfectly executed RPO play on a 15-yard slant route. And so, look, if we can get this from Shelton Sampson the next 3 games, that's going to make our offense very, very dangerous, especially in extending drives. I thought he made some key 3rd down plays. He caught that long pass that I thought really opened up our offense. I think it was, the 2nd drive, I believe, Cole? I think it might have just led to a field goal. I'm not sure. But those type of plays extends your drives, and then you know what it does? It keeps your offense on the field. It helps you burn clock. It helps your time of possession, and it also keeps our defense off the field. So you can mix and mingle with that run game that I thought was really valuable. Look, 3.5 yards isn't the best, but with our running tandem and with Lunch being able to carry the football, that goes a long way when you can complement it with a passing game. Now, I believe somebody alluded to it in the post game. I will say that we do need to step up the passing game a little bit more with other receivers contributing. I believe we had one other receiver that caught a pass. Was it Rob Williams maybe before halftime?
They had one other receiver.
And Jaden Johnson, I think, too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're going to need other guys to step up. We can't depend on Shelton to do everything. But at the same time, no, it was great to see Shelton Sampson have the game he had. Again, it kind of sucks that it's game 9, but it's better now than never. And we're going to need him now in these next 3 games, starting with Texas State.
Yeah, we had opportunities earlier in the season, but I don't want to get caught up on that. I just want to look to the future and try to get to 6 wins. Lane, I'll let you close it out with your thoughts if anything stood out for you. For me, it was, again, the performance of Lunch and his ability to stretch the field with the deep pass and his ability. I mean, he was looking so crisp. I think his only incompletion was the one that should have been pass interference. So talk to us a little bit about what stood out for you against South Alabama.
For the doubters, Lunch can actually throw the ball, as he showed this past weekend. Like you said, he only missed the one pass that should have been a pass interference. But he also ran the ball when he needed to, and he handed it off when it was necessary. We played like Cole mentioned, we played a balanced offense, and the defense played a bend but don't break type of defense towards the end. I would have loved to see a blowout because, I mean, that's what we should do against bad teams like that. But it was good to get the win when we did. I'm looking forward to this weekend and the rest of the season.
And talk about, I'm not going to mention any names, but I do want you to talk about the guy who said that lunch can't pass. I mean, it wasn't this guy, but it was another guy. All we heard was lunch isn't the better passer in him. I mean, do you think Lunch proved him wrong last week? I'm not saying better than Walker. I'm just saying as a good passer, I think he showed his skills last weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, like Jerry said, some of the passes weren't great, but they were still completed because Shelton decided he wanted to help the team out this week, and he proved that he can play. We'll see if he contributes as much, even though I think we should spread the ball out more, but I'd like to see him continue what he did last week.
For sure. All right, boys. Well, that was our recap. Jerry, very quickly before we move on.
One thing that Coach Desimo said in his press conference on Monday was in the second half, the reason why we got conservative, there was a motive behind it. He wanted to run clock. So just for people wondering, why did we go to the run game? Why did we kind of sit on it a little bit, not as aggressive? Is he wanted to depend on the run game to do that. Now, I will say we have to be very careful with that, with the way South Alabama made a comeback. But just for people wondering why we got so conservative, it was part of the plan in the second half.
Yeah, I totally understand. And plus, it got the job done, and South Alabama helped us out, too, with running the ball the entire fourth quarter. So I was okay with that as well. Moving on to this weekend, boys and girls, we are taking on the Texas State Bobcats, who are 0-12 against the Cajuns all time, which is why this episode is called Daddy's Home, because Daddy is home this weekend to host their son, Texas State. Texas State got off to a pretty good start this season, beating Eastern Michigan 52-27. Of course, we lost to EMU on the road and then beat UTSA 43-36. So they're high, thinking that this is going to be a really good season. And again, prognosticators always pick them to win the Sun Belt every season. Well, what I said would probably happen ended up happening. They drop one to Arizona State. They beat Nichols at home, and then lose the next 4 all-conference games. So they are now 3-5 on the season, 0-4 in conference, but they're really excited about the Bubba's Cup. They're really excited about the Bubba's Cup, y'all. You got your Bubba Cup. They're really, anytime you say you've done nothing in this conference, they say, but we won the Bubba's Cup, which I had to, Google to find out what that was.
Man,
but they're
that badminton team they have, woof.
Very proud.
Rock, paper, scissors champs, baby.
Yeah. So congratulations to them. Their $2 million coach has given them a 3-5 record so far this season. And then they come to Louisiana to face off against the Cajuns. Now, again, a 3-5 record. You could say, oh, we got this. Well, of course, the Cajuns, outside of the last game where they played up to expectations, have not been playing that well the rest of the season. So let's not forget going into this game to try to get too cocky that we're going to come out and make it 13 in a row against Texas State. They want to beat us. They want to beat us every year. It is at home, and I feel better about that. And of course, I feel better about the way they played. But we're going to talk about Texas State and what we can expect. Let's start with offense. KG, if you want to give us a little preview about what we can expect from the Bobcats offense this weekend.
Your Texas State Bobcat offensive coordinator Landon Kiepel, he was promoted in January of 25. They run a run and gun designed offense. It's designed to push the pace and stress the defense. And that's what they've done. They are very successful in doing so. They score a lot of points. It's significantly better at running the ball this year than in previous years, but it's still a very strong passing attack. Actually, Texas State ranks number 33 in scoring offense at 34.1, and then they're 17th in total offense with 470.9 yards per game. They're going to be led by quarterback redshirt freshman Brad Johnson, 6 foot 200. He's a 3-star recruit out of San Antonio. On the season, he's 66.8% passing with 1,991 yards. 10 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He also has 127 carries, 525 yards, and is tied for the team lead in rushing with 9. He's proven to be effective both through the air and on the ground. He's added a running dimension to this offense that last year's offense severely lacked. Their passing offense this year actually ranks 33rd in the country, 253.7 yards per game. Their running back room, they're led by redshirt senior Lincoln Pear. He's 5'9", 200. He's a two-star transfer from Arkansas State. He's the lead back in this offense. He leads the team in carries with 130. He leads the team in yards with 648, and he's tied for the lead in rushing touchdowns with the quarterback Brad Johnson with 9. He also has 19 catches on the season for 144 yards. His backup, you'll see him, he's sophomore Greg Burrell. He's going to come in spells for Pear. He's 6'1", 205. He's a 3-star transfer from UNLV. He has 59 carries on the season, 359 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also has 6 catches for 70 yards. Their rushing offense ranks number 13th in the country at 217.1 yards per game. So like I said, a very good rushing offense. And you would think with this run and gun style, this throw heavy style where they want to stretch things out, stretch the defense out, that it would be, the passing numbers that would catch your eye, but that's not so. They are very talented running the football, as are we. They do some things, again, that you're going to see that the Cajuns do well as well. 2 rushing offenses is what you're going to be seeing on Saturday. But the wide receiver room is going to be led by junior Bo Sparks. He's 5'11", 175. He's a transfer from Utah Tech. He's a slot receiver in this offense mainly. He leads the team in targets with 69. He leads the team in receptions with 51, yards with 743, and receiving touchdowns with 6. So he is by far and away their wide receiver number 1. They're going to force the ball to him a lot of the time. But right behind him is junior Chris Dawn Jr., 5'7", 170. He's what I would consider a balanced wide receiver. They'll use him, whether it's outside or inside in the slot. He's a 3-star recruit from Dallas. He has 27 catches and 511 yards receiving. Redshirt freshman Kylan Evans is another name to watch out for. He's 6'2", 200, 3-star recruit from McKinney, Texas. He has 15 catches, 211 yards, and a touchdown as well. And lastly, you'll see for a redshirt senior Maven Anderson, 6', 200. He's a 4-star transfer from Cal. He has 9 catches for 155 and a touchdown. Their tight end room is pretty quiet. They have 3 guys that share time. Redshirt senior Titus Lyons, redshirt junior Blake Smith, and redshirt sophomore Ty Stamey. They're all going to split time at the position. Honestly, they've combined for 21 catches, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns this year. So not a very active tight end room. They're more block heavy in that room than they are, with catching the football, kind of like the Cajuns are in some ways. But lastly, their offensive line room. And I'm going to say these guys, they're starters in order of their position grades. They're led by left tackle redshirt senior Dorian Strawn, 6'6", 315. He's a stud, 3-star from Lamar. Behind him is going to be the center redshirt freshman Brock Riker. He's 6'4", 290. He's a 3-star recruit from Brock, Texas. Right tackle redshirt junior Sully Barnes. He's 6'7", 320, 3-star transfer from Tulane. Right guard, redshirt sophomore Justin DeLeon, 6'3", almost said 3'6", 6'3", 315, 3-star recruit from Kingsville, Texas. And lastly, on this offensive line is left guard, redshirt senior Amika Abigbo. He's 6'5", 357. He's a JUCO transfer from Arlington, Texas. There are weaknesses, guys, that we need to kind of exploit this weekend. They have a bad tendency of not finishing off drives. Honestly, I want to say they only convert 2/3 of their red zone chances into touchdowns. They do kick a lot of field goals. They tend to have bogged down in the red zone, and that has happened more in the Sun Belt, when conference play has started, that they started to see these red zone struggles, and that's why they've been caught in these Sun Belt games so far. And guys, and we may talk about it in a little bit. If you go back and you look at their Sun Belt records, they have to start their schedule. It was like a 1-score loss. Then they had 2 overtime losses, and I believe their most previous Sun Belt loss was a 1-score loss as well. So they're playing a lot of tight games. It's not like Texas State's a bad team, as you guys mentioned earlier. It's just they're not executing offensively like they were earlier in the season, where they were putting up these firework numbers and blowing these teams out. Also, before I turn it back over to y'all, they struggle with turnovers, particularly fumbles. So, UL is going to have to do a really good job of forcing turnovers. As I mentioned the last month, we've done a really good job of doing that. So if we can create turnovers because they want to run that run and gun, force the ball down the field, be explosive. If you could take the ball away from them there, you give yourself a much better chance, to win. And then lastly, like I mentioned, they have a redshirt freshman at quarterback. If you can exploit his inexperience in these high leverage situations, honestly, his production and his decision making has drastically gone down on these conference road games as of late. He's had a lot of interceptions. He's got like a 2-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio. So if you can get to the quarterback and make him make bad decisions, make him make throws that he doesn't want to make, you may be able to force, even more turnovers from an interception standpoint. So that's a couple of weaknesses to this offense. And that's a little bit of what you're going to see from the Texas State Bobcats on Saturday.
Thanks for a great rundown. The one thing that I am looking forward to see on their offensive line, I'm trying to pull up where I saw this stat. PFS in college, they are on X. They do a little bit of like postseason kind of college football playoff predictor stuff, and they do a lot of stats, and they grade different offensive linemen across the Sun Belt. Louisiana does have one O-lineman, Jax Harrington. He grades out at an 80.2, but two of the Texas State linemen, an offensive guard, Talek Lockett, and Brock Riker, who is the center. You talked about both of them. They both grade as highest in the Sun Belt. So gonna be a challenge for our defense. Jerry, anything jump out at you on the offensive side of things for Texas State?
Not really. I do know they're explosive, and they do kind of run a fast-paced offense. Like last year, I remember we were able to make some key stops and kind of halted their drives, and I thought we kind of extended our drives last season. The year before, once again, J.J. Kinney likes to play that fast-paced spread. He likes to spread the field a lot. We're just going to have to make our tackles, and secondary is going to have to be on their A game this week, because I think they're very when they click. But in the last couple of weeks, they've been kind of off. I think it's the weakness of their defense, which I know that KG will probably talk about. But they've got playmakers. Hell, I'm sure it's another. How many transfers they have this year? They probably have another big year of transfers, I'm sure, with some skill positions. So no, our defense is gonna have to be on their toes for sure.
All right, boys, let's get to the defensive side of things. Lane, I'm sorry, I don't want to skip you. Anything to add to the conversation?
So I was at the game last year in San Marcos, and like Jerry mentioned, we made several stops when we needed to, and it seems like this year, like Cole mentioned, they are turnover prone. So we'll have to really hammer that home this week as we get ready for Saturday. As long as we can win the turnover battle, I think we'll be good to go this year.
Win the turnover battle and score once you get the ball back. That has plagued us this season. So we got to continue what we did again last week, which is capitalize on mistakes and just play a clean game. And we got to cut out. We still got problems with penalties, boys. We got to figure that out before the weekend. All right, let's go back to you, KG. Defensively, a little bit of a different story. So I'll let you take it away and tell us about the Texas State defense.
Yeah, as good as they are on offense, they have struggled mightily on defense. They're led by Dexter McCoyle Sr. in his second year as defensive coordinator. They're going to run a 4-2-5. Their strength on this defense is the pass rush and the ability to create these tackles for loss. Speaking of that, they rank 20th in the country with 54 tackles for loss, and they're 35th in the country with 19 sacks. So as bad as they are defensively, which I'm about to get to some of their ranks and show you guys, surprisingly good at getting after the quarterback and stopping, plays from behind the line of scrimmage. But let's talk about this defense. A very porous defense. Total defense, they rank 114th in the country. They give up 418.1 yards per game. Passing defense, not much better. They rank 103rd in the country with 244.9 yards per game allowed. And then rushing defense right there, pretty much as the passing defense. They're ranked 102 with 173.2 yards per game allowed. So if the Cajuns don't turn the ball over, as y'all mentioned a couple of times now, if you win the turnover battle and you can control the clock and you can successfully have this rushing, attack that we've had the past month, we're going to be okay. Controlling the clock to me is going to be the key, because Texas State's offense is extremely explosive. If you give them momentum, they take advantage of that momentum. But you can also keep that momentum away by keeping the ball and keeping, the time of possession. So that's equally going to be a big deal. But let's run through some of their studs. I'll start with the defensive ends. Their two starters is going to be redshirt senior Khalil Alexander, 6'3", 225. He's a JUCO transfer, 16 tackles, 21 quarterback hurries, and 4 sacks on the year. One thing you're going to notice about these defensive ends, they get after the quarterback. And I'm not even talking about just the starters. Even their backups get after the quarterback. I'm going to keep going. Another starter is going to be senior Tamir Jackson, 6'5", 235. He's another JUCO transfer, 18 tackles, 15 quarterback hurries, and 2 sacks. Here's their backups at the defensive end. Get these stats, guys. Redshirt senior Kennard Snyder, 6', 248, ULM transfer. Might ring some bells. 14 tackles, 4 quarterback hurries, and 2 sacks. And then the other backup that you'll see rotate in and out is redshirt junior Don Terry Russell, 6'4", 225, Mississippi State transfer. So he got that pedigree. I want to say he's a former four-star. Statistically has 7 tackles, 7 quarterback hurries, and get this, leads the team with 5 sacks as a rotational defensive end. So, he's got the motor to go get after the quarterback. Defensive tackles on this Bobcat defense, redshirt senior Bryce Carter, 6'3", 274, Virginia transfer, 10 tackles, 5 quarterback hurries, and a sack. Redshirt junior Cameron Washington, who's 6'2", 290, Sam Houston transfer, 5 tackles, 9 quarterback hurries, and 4 stops on the year. And then lastly, you'll see redshirt junior Jordan Sanders, 6'4", 285. He's a Cal Poly transfer. He has 8 tackles and 7 hurries on the season. A couple of guys that you'll see rotate in the interior of this defensive line is redshirt senior Ami Langley Jr. He's 6'6", 312, 6 tackles, 4 hurries, and a sack. And redshirt junior Devarick Woods, 6'3", 290, 9 tackles, 5 hurries, and 1 sack as well. So like I said, that defensive line can definitely get after the quarterback, but I'm going to go ahead and get to the second level. I'll give you the starter for the middle linebacker group, and that's going to be senior Traylon Payne. He's 6', 215, a Houston transfer, 37 tackles on the season, 4 hurries, and 2 sacks. His backup, who's going to spell him at times, is redshirt senior Terrence Cooks II, 6'2", 230. He's a Texas transfer, 15 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 pass breakups. At the weak side linebacker, that will linebacker, the starter on that will linebacker is going to be redshirt sophomore Aiden Jones, 6'2", 215. He's a FCS transfer. Statistically on the season has 31 tackles, 3 quarterback hurries, and 17 stops. And backing him up is going to be senior Michael Baudouin III. He is not from Louisiana. I already did my homework on that one. He ain't from around here. He's from Texas. But yeah, Michael Baudouin III is going to be 6'4", 235. He's a JUCO transfer, 5 tackles, 4 quarterback hurries, and a sack as well. Let's talk about their defensive backs real quick, and then I'll turn the page to you guys. We can talk about this defense. Starting in the defensive backfield at cornerback is going to be redshirt junior Kamari Terrell, 6'1", 185. He's an Oregon transfer, one of the highest graded defenders on this entire defense. 10 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and an interception. Also, cornerback redshirt senior Camden Grogan. He's 6'3", 175. He's a Lamar transfer, has 4 tackles, 2 hurries, and 2 pass breakups. And then you'll have Jaden Rios, who's a redshirt senior. He'll rotate between those 2 guys, kind of spell them, whichever one needs. 6'3", 190, D2 transfer, 3 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 interception. At strong safety, you'll see junior Ryan Nolan. He's 5'10", 181. He's a JUCO transfer, 12 tackles, 12 stops, and 2 pass breakups. At the star position, because they do run that 4-2-5 defense, at the star position, you'll see sophomore Will Mitchell II, 5'10", 185, 2 tackles, 2 stops, and 3 pass breakups. And lastly, at the free safety position, you'll see redshirt junior Javis Minat. He's 6', 190, 6 tackles, 1 sack, and 6 stops. But like I said, very porous defense, both in the air and on the ground. Cajuns got some opportunities to make some plays. Now, like I said, they will get after the quarterback, and that might be a strength for Texas State because, with Lunch Winfield, we run a lot of these QB draws and QB design runs. Well, if that defensive line can create enough push and blow those kind of plays up, and may create more of a challenge for the Cajuns to move the ball. So, Texas State overall does not have a good defense, but they do things that can be effective against the guy like Lunch Winfield. But I'm hopeful that if we can recreate some of the success that we saw last week against South Al, especially through the air, and it makes that defense respect the pass a little bit more and opens lanes up in the run. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping for, because Lunch gives you that X factor where you don't know whether he's going to burn you over the top, especially with how he threw it last week, or if he's going to, run one of those, quarterback design runs, and he might hit you for 5, 6, 7 yards. So a handful for that Texas State defense for sure. One more thing, Nick, before I turn it over, and we didn't say this earlier, want to give some love to our injured and banged up offensive line, especially for their performance last week. They were able to keep Lunch clean all day long. Only gave up 1 sack. 1 sack all day long against South Alabama. And I know we had a lot of, I called it a carousel of people having to play positions that they weren't comfortable in playing because of the massive amount of injuries we had on our offensive line. So I would be remiss if I didn't show them some love. And obviously they did a good job on the ground as well, allowing all of our running backs to get about 50 to 60 yards rushing. So I wanted to tip my hat to them. But anyway, that's a little bit of a preview of your Texas State Bobcat defense.
When you look at Louisiana's defense versus Texas State's defense, Louisiana is ranked to 98 in the NCAA, while Texas State is ranked around 115. And you look at that and you say, well, we're not that far off. Well, there's a big difference there, because Louisiana's offense wasn't producing. So our defense had to make plays and be out there a lot longer. So, the yards per game are going to be off the charts because they spent more time on the field, because our offense could not get going. And the number of plays that will lead the country probably in the number of plays that they've had to defend. So I would attribute that more to our lack of offense early in the season versus Texas State, who's got a lot of offense. So that's not the problem. The problem is they're just not executing defensively. Jerry, your thoughts on the defensive side?
Well, first of all, if you look at their last 8 games, 6 of those games, they've given up 30 points or more. And then in the other game, they didn't give that up. They gave up 27 in the first game to Eastern Michigan, and then they only gave up 3 against Nichols, of course, a Southland FCS opponent. But if you look at the last 4 weeks, let's just go down the list, right, in their 4 conference games. They gave up 31 to Arkansas State, which they blew that game. They gave up a last-second touchdown to Arkansas State with like 4 seconds left. Had that game won, but the defense just squandered that away. They gave up 48 points to Troy in a homecoming loss in overtime. Another big lead that they gave up. The defense let Troy come back into it. And then that's followed by a Marshall game where they lost in 2 overtimes, gave up 40 points. And of course, last week they just got obliterated by JMU. 52 points they gave up at home. So these last 4 weeks, guys, they're giving up a lot of points. If you look at their conference average, if you add that up, that's probably that's close to 40 points a game. So if we can have that momentum we had last week offensively, if we see that first half Cajun team that we saw against South Alabama, and we do things right, and the play calls are well, and we're running kind of a smooth, effective offense, and we're running up tempo, we could feast. We can feast. I see opportunities. Now, granted, to Cole's points, there are some players that they do have playmakers, but I don't know, man. You're giving up 40 points to Marshall, and you're giving up 52 points to JMU at home. I'm licking my chops, guys. I'm licking my chops at that.
I don't like to look at, we only lost to JMU by this amount and they lost to JMU by this amount, but that's a good indicator of to me, defense, because you're both played the same team. They got completely blown out. We played JMU pretty tough through 3 quarters. So again, you have to feel like you're going to have an opportunity to score this weekend. I'll let you cap it off. Lane, with your thoughts, and then we'll get into some more about Texas State, about some of the fun stuff.
So I fully anticipate the running game to get going this weekend more than they did last week. I know it was more of a balanced type of game between the 2 main running backs and Lunch. But if we could see one or 2 of the guys go for 80, 90, 100 plus, I think we win this game handily. I think once you get into that second level, that's where they really struggle. And if and when we do that, I think it'll set us up for a win.
Yeah, and by the way, Andy had a good question. What's their points against versus ours? Texas State holds opponents to 33 points a game. We hold opponents to 29 points a game. And I think that's pretty consistent. Outside of Missouri, I think that's pretty consistent of what we've done this season.
Well, in conference too. I mean, I just averaged them. They're giving up 40 points a game in conference, and we're not. So that actually gives us a little bit of an advantage. Now, granted, we have given up more points than we would like, but I mean, you've given up 40 points a game. Again, that's a huge opportunity for us to feast on.
And again, we have left our, we have left our defense out to dry a lot, early in the season. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let's not fall into the trap, though, because if we get into this shootout mode, that's exactly what Texas State wants. That's the game they want to play, because they have the offense that's going to outshoot you. So what I'm saying is let's make them play our game. And what I mean by that is you got to limit them to non-explosive plays. You can't be giving up explosives, and you want to force them to a lot of third and long opportunities, because that is not where they want to be. That's not where their offense is built to be. So if you can control the clock, run the ball to Lane's point, like he said, and I agree with you, Lane, I think we may see even a heavier dose of run this week, even though the run to pass ratio on our offensive play calling has been pretty large. But it's been working. That's where it's been working. So I actually, I agree with you. I think if the Cajuns can have 100-yard rusher, maybe even a couple 100-yard rushers, because Lunch is going to get his. Maybe Zylan or Bill Davis can step up and get theirs. If we got about 200 yards rushing, I could see us winning this game, because that means you ran the ball well, you ran the ball effectively, you kept Texas State's high-powered offense off the field, and you're resting our own defense, right? So Texas State's run and gun offense, they want to basically burn you down the field and wear your defense out. Where if you're keeping them off the field, you're keeping your defense rested, you're allowing your guys to just go out there nice and fresh and go get after the quarterback and wreak havoc. So let's make them play our game this week by slowing the tempo down, keeping them off the field. I'm going to say this, Jerry. If we can score 35-40 at home this week, if we can get 35-40, I think we win the game. I'll be very honest with you, especially if you can win the turnover battle with that. And lastly, guys, I'll say this. Make them continue to kick field goals when they get inside the red zone. The Cajuns have done a great job defensively the last couple of weeks with forcing teams, once they get into the red zone, to settle for field goals or making stops at the goal line. If we can continue to do that and keep them out of the end zone, obviously great things are going to happen. But bottom line, let's make them play our game Saturday.
I don't like Texas State. I don't hide that anywhere. I think their fans are cocky for no reason, because they've never won anything except the Bubba's Cup, which they're very excited about. We did have Coach Steven Trout from the baseball team on with us last season. He was great. I mean, we didn't like the way they acted during the games, but he was a cool guy. We had a great chat with him. But Lane every week does this cool thing where he emails the athletic department of the other school, and we ask them, hey, look, this is who we are. We have this little one pager. This is who we are. This is how many subscribers we have, our reach, etc. And, we'd like to interview. If you have any opportunities for coaches or team representatives to come talk to us, we'd love it. And usually it's the radio guy, right? Which we love. I mean, we had some really good interviews with the radio guys. If anybody but the head coach knows the team, it's the guy who gets to call every game for them. So really cool. Lane sends this great email, and the response we get from someone who works in that department was, appreciate you reaching out. We're going to respectfully decline this request. Now, we've been declined a few times. I mean, no big deal. Sometimes we get ignored, not a big deal. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, we don't really have anybody, but thanks for letting us know in the future we can work with you, whatever. But this one was it was a little bit snarky. We're going to respectfully decline this request. That was it. That was the email they sent us back. I'm not gonna say who wrote the email response, but I do want to read this back to them, because this is something I've wanted to kind of get clapped back on with Texas State. It's, hey, so-and-so, appreciate your respectful response. Just for my own edification, are you guys declining an opportunity to represent your program in Louisiana because you're incapable of beating us? Or is it because your head football coach is soft? Respectfully, of course. Signed, whoever sent the email. Boys, I don't think we're going to get Coach Trout on for baseball season. I think that's the end of our relationship with Texas State athletics. But you know what? It was well worth it. And I'm not going to disclose who sent it, but I think people would probably be able to guess who sent that email. Last thing before we go to the brand ambassador, who is also the student athlete of the week. Excuse me, Mr. Big Shot. Before we get to him, I do want to ask you guys, 12-0 against Texas State. Does that worry you a little bit? I mean, I hate those streaks as the person holding it because it's going to eventually be broken. I just don't want it broken now. Not now. I'll start with you, KG. You worried about that streak?
No, and I'm glad you came to me first because I got a bone to pick with Texas State. They made my little rant that I had about a month ago. Now I look like a freaking idiot. Anyway, they were one of the hottest teams in the freaking Sun Belt, and they fell off a cliff like Wile E. Coyote. So yeah, you know what? Not only do I hope we beat them this week, I hope we blow them out. And you know what? That might be another one of those bad takes, but we're riding high right now. Offense looks great. So not only do I want to win, I want to just put the dagger in them while they exit our conference because you don't want to be here. We don't want you here either. And going back to the email that y'all sent to remain anonymous.
Don't say y'all.
No,
it ain't y'all. That person said.
That person. You can always count on Rage and Review to take one last jab on the way out. So, but no, just because we're undefeated against them, I'm hoping we can keep the streak going as they exit the conference. Nothing but bad blood there. We've talked about it even in the conversations way earlier this year when we talked about Louisiana Tech coming into the conference. Texas State just never really felt like they belonged with us. I'll be honest. It was always felt like an outside looking in. And that's honestly the God honest truth. That, we talked about it. Louisiana Tech's going to be a much better fit culturally in this conference. And it always felt like Texas State was an outsider. And, but no, I hope we can stick it to them one more time on the way out.
Texas State is JMU, except without the fans or the success. Like they throw money at the program, but they just never get any results out of it. Jerry, real quick, your thoughts, worried about the streak or not a factor?
No, the only thing I'm worried about is we're 3-6 right now, and we got to take it one game at a time to play for bowl eligibility. I think when it comes to the streak, I actually feel a little bit better because of the fact that Texas State hasn't really played well in the last 4 games. I mean, they're 0-4 in conference. Like I said, they've given up 40 points a game. We just had probably our best game last week, and they got to come here. And so there's no doubt, I'm sure, and we'll ask the brand ambassador about it, but that's something that adds a little extra motivation. But I think it's all business this weekend, guys. I think the streak is kind of in the background. I think it's something for us to laugh about, but it's strictly business on Saturday for us.
Lane, final thoughts. Streak, does it matter?
I was more worried about the streak last year, and we came away with the win. I don't think there's any reason to doubt the streak after this week. I think we go 13-0 against them.
All right. Before we bring on the brand ambassador, just want to respond to this. At least they responded. Silence on media credentials. You're correct, 77. Still no answer from the athletic department on media credentials. Yeah, still nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show our brand ambassador and student athlete of the week. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Caden Jenson. Caden, man, we gave you a week off because we knew you were battling through some things. How you feeling this week, brother?
Man, it's good to see y'all. I'm feeling great. I feel like it's been a while. It's been way too long.
I know it has been way too long. By the way, student athlete of the week. Congratulations on that. I know we're kind of laughing about it, but that is truly impressive. I mean, I know how it is traveling and having to do homework and then reschedule tests or sometimes take them, on the road with you. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank
and
you.
I know your mom's probably watching. She's probably super excited too, but I did want to mention that and congratulate you on that. We were just talking about the streak, 12-0. I'll get right to that first because I think that's a good second of the conversation. Is that something that the team really thinks or talks about, or is that more of a fan thing?
I mean, it's acknowledged, but I think I forget who had said it just now, but it's business as usual, honestly. Texas State just happens to be a team that we like beating and we like playing. And so, them coming here, it's kind of in the back of your mind, but we're not playing for that to keep that streak. We're obviously playing to win, but it's not on the forefront burner. We really got to kind of stay in our wheelhouse and build momentum off this last game that we had. So the streak's there. We're looking to keep it for sure. And I mean, y'all said it too. We're looking to kind of send them away with another L from the Cajuns.
Yeah, as they go to the Pac State conference, thinking that they're big shit. Talking about last week again, you took a break from football and from the show because of working through things. But glad to have you back. What was it like watching the game on TV versus being there? Because I expected that reaction, but how do you see the game from that perspective when you're so used to being down on the field?
Yeah, I hope honestly, and make this sound the best way possible. I hope to never experience that again, because that was truly like I was literally going crazy. I was in the house by myself on the couch watching the TV, and the first half of the game was great, and then it started to kind of creep back in, and just not being there, and obviously seeing the guys in the field, and I had full faith in them, and they got the job done, obviously. But it was so weird just sitting back and watching on TV, and I almost had to turn it because I was getting, my hands were sweating, like I was feeling like it was terrible. I almost had to turn it off and go take a walk because I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad. And it wasn't even like we were doing bad. It was just crazy being away from the game and seeing it from that perspective. But honestly, it opened my eyes to, I had said this to the team, like it's crazy looking at from an outside perspective now that I was able to see it on TV. But the way that we rallied together and through adverse situations, it kind of really showed me. And it proves to the guys, who we really are. And so, there's a lot of adversity in that game, and the way we finished out in the game was really impressive. So it was definitely weird watching it, but it was kind of cool to see that experience and see it from that perspective, something I'm not used to.
Yeah. Well, get used to it. You'll be a coach one day, maybe. So maybe you need to get used to watching it that way. Question regarding watching it. I'm sure there was a lot that you liked on tape or live, I guess, this week with the offense. Tell us some of the things that you really took away from the offensive performance, especially with Lunch.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Lunch stepped up big time again, and just his ability to get us out of situations and create explosives. I was really proud. I feel like Shelton Sampson stepped up and had a really amazing game, honestly, and bailed us out a few times. And I feel like the running backs and the offensive line, the front, we were physical, and so. I feel like the coaches did a really well job at game planning and putting us in a position to succeed. And so we create a lead like that, and then now it's how can we manage the game? And I feel like at times when we could have put it away on offense and we fell short, I feel like the defense stepped it up and and gave us an opportunity again. And when we get into adverse situations where we need to stop on the goal line for twice, at the end of the day, like they came away with it. And so that's something that was really electric to see. And so, kind of bringing it all together, all three phases playing together, I feel like that was really well. And so I was super proud of the guys, and, going back and film and watching it. There's still stuff to fix, obviously. But I feel like the main thing is we found a way to win with the guys. And so we just got to build off the momentum and recognize that this is a good Texas State team coming in, record, whatever, but they got good guys. I'm speaking offensively. They got good guys on defense. And so it's our job to, do our fundamentals to where we have to exploit them. So, we're pretty excited.
Caden, first of all, man, welcome back. Great to see you're doing well, looking good. Look like you're ready to go on Saturday. As you were kind of feeling jittery and having to get up, walking around, I'm hoping the offensive production made you kind of calm down and feel a little bit better. I think that was probably, I would say, and I guess you would agree, probably the best offensive performance we've seen all year.
For sure.
We went 4 for 4 on drives, on scoring drives in the first half. Lunch broke a new school record for, I believe it was passing percentage or passing efficiency. Huge day for him. Of course, you mentioned Shelton Sampson. Great day, kind of a coming out party for him. What are some of the things that you saw specifically offensively that you really liked on Saturday against South Alabama?
Yeah, I'm going to start with my boy, the boys in the tight end room. Brock and Trey, I feel like played their ass off. Being in the tight end room and sitting in those meetings and, still staying locked in. The big thing was, with the wide nines that they were playing, and they were on film, the cut that we had, they were messing tight ends up all throughout the Sun Belt and throughout the teams that they played. And so we knew that, these guys are physical on the edges, and, once they get their hands in, they've shown on film to, dominate tight ends. And so, I feel like Brock and Trey, took that personally and really stepped up the plate and really kind of control the edges. And, those guys, a lot of times were non-factors. And obviously Brock and Trey in the passing game as well. That was a pretty nice explosive seeing Brock on that play out to the right. But starting with them, I was super proud to see them kind of step up and, they really owned it And it started with that week of preparation. I mean, they did everything they're asked to do. And then obviously, I had mentioned Shelton as well. I feel like they played really well. He played really well in complementary football. And it just kind of started with doing his job. He's been doing his job, but now the ball's finding him, and, he's a playmaker, so he makes plays. And so obviously Lunch as well. And so I feel like, offensively as a whole, we found a way to get it done, and we didn't really, we were under our negative play goal. 12% is our goal, and we were under that. And so that's a big thing of staying ahead and having minimum negative runs. And that, that starts up front with the line. So I feel like all units, we really played really well, but offensively, we showed up.
So right now, you kind of get a huge win on the road, first road win, big conference win against a team that beat us last year, right? We pretty much ended their season in many ways because now they're no longer bowl eligible. But guess what? We have a chance to still become bowl eligible right now. 3-6 record, but still, these next 3 games are very important. Obviously, the most important one in front of us is against Texas State. Talk a little bit about the approach to this game, because Coach Des mentioned the other day that this is kind of like a playoff game. I mean, it's almost like each game, you have to win it to keep your season alive. How is that reflected in the locker room? How is that reflected at practice? How is that reflected in the approach that you're taking going into this game on Saturday, kind of making it feel like a playoff game?
For sure. I'd say, in the locker room, it's kind of like tenfold. There's a sense of urgency, but then there's also a sense of calmness. We know that we don't have to do anything that we're not capable of doing. You look at our season, and a handful of games and a handful of plays make us completely opposite, 6-3, some would say. So like, we know we're there. We're not take away one game. We're not completely out of the games that we've lost. So there's no panic in the locker room. But there is a sense of urgency. Like you said, we're in playoff mode. And so I know for me, and I know for, the guys that I'm around in the team, that we're excited. I feel like it's excitement more than anything. We're excited to be able to go out and still control our destiny in the sense of getting to a conference championship, or getting to a bowl game and winning a bowl championship, getting that ring. And so that's a major goal, and that's something we pride ourselves on. And so we're happy that we're in the spot to do that. And now the urgency kicks in as well. It's like, it's playoff mode. So, this Tuesday practice matters even more. This Wednesday practice matters even more. This Thursday and this Friday walkthrough, everything matters more because it's do or die. And so I feel like, throughout the locker room, guys have stepped up, and, they've owned that. This is all the Marlboro, like, we're all in right now. So I feel like we're excited more than anything. We're ready to get out there on Saturday and go 1-0 again.
Caden, man, first off, got to tell you, great shirt. That's a phenomenal shirt you got on tonight, man. Second off, thrilled to, get out there on Saturday, even at the tailgate, getting to hang out with your family. I'm really looking forward to being back at home at Cajun Field. But I'm going to start with this question, real simple. What should we expect offensively from the Cajuns against Texas State?
Sure. I'd say offensively, I'd say it's kind of, what we've tried to produce this whole year. Honestly, we're going to establish the line of scrimmage with the run game, and then we're going to take shots and be explosive in the pass game. We have the assets and we have the weapons on the outsides, and we have the dogs on the insides to where we need to control the game, basically. And it starts with us and ends with us. And so that means moving the ball when we need to up front, and that means taking shots when it opens up. And so y'all have mentioned it, Texas State, they rely on explosives. They're a very explosive-based team. And so and y'all had said it, we have to make them play to our tempo and play to our level of play. And so it starts up front like it does every week. And so you can expect to see a physical game. This game plan that we've got, we're all bought in, and it's elite. And so now it's just a matter of execution. They've got playmakers on their side of the ball, but sometimes they just don't play as a defensive as a team. So, when they do off scripted or unscripted looks, we've just got to rely on our fundamentals, and we've got to know that our technique at the end of the day is going to put us in a spot to succeed. So it's going to come down to us executing at a high level. And so you can really expect to see us kind of focusing on the run game and move the ball when we want to, and then also take shots.
And man, look, I'm going to point out your boys. Brock last week, 2 catches, 44 yards. Trey, 2 catches, 10 yards. So it's clear that ever since Lunch has gotten more comfortable in this offense, that the tight ends have gotten more and more involved and more targets and more catches. With you coming back, and I know y'all are a very tight unit between the three of y'all. Have y'all talked about how this passing game is evolving and how Lunch is becoming a better passer? Because it's clear on paper, it's even clear on screen, even if you're a casual fans, that the tight end is a lot more involved now in this offense than it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's honestly heightened up our sense of urgency where it's like, now that he's feeling more comfortable kind of using us as a safety net and even using us in the shot game too, we need to step up and we need to own that role, which we have. And we got to understand that, like, look, we are now a featured asset in this offense. And so we got to be 100%. And so our job is to catch everything that comes our way and make guys miss and get yak. And so obviously we like to be physical in the run game, but us being available in the pass game just adds another safety net and allows Lunch to be more comfortable in the backfield. So, we're excited and we're happy to be kind of be in the spot that we are in this point of the season.
Again, after you're sitting on the couch watching the game, you're seeing Lunch connect with your boys, you're seeing him having a hell of a game in the passing game. Are you excited to get on the field with Lunch this week? I mean, that's got to be like you sat out, you're ready to go, you see what he's done last week. You've got to be pumped to connect with Lunch this week.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just really excited to just be able to strap it up and get out. Like it's been a week, but it's felt I can't tell you how long it's felt. And guys that know me that are tied with me, like they know that I'm all about the Cajuns and like I'm all about football. And so being away was definitely very eerie to me. And so I'm just excited to be back out there. And thankfully I get to be back out there with, Lunch in the backfield to where I know, our relationship is only getting better by the day. And so, and that connection is building, and I'm stoked to get out there. You could tell me right now that I go out and play the game on Saturday and I get no targets and I'll still be the same amount of excited and amped up to go just because, I'm itching to get back out there. And so, and the guys have been nothing but, excited with me and sharing that excitement to where, they obviously saw that I was hurting. And so they shared that with me. And, that just kind of proves that it's more than football. And, we got a lot of brothers on the team. So definitely ready and excited to get there on Saturday.
Well, I texted your dad a video of a deer hitting my car. I don't know if he shared that with you, but
yeah, I saw it I saw it when you posted it.
Yeah, so I will not be there, but your parents will be sitting down in my seats down right at the 50. So be sure to give them some love when you see them, as always.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Before we go, and look, I want to preface this by saying in no way is this an endorsement of anything, and the university has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. So whether you say you like it or you don't, it makes no difference, right? But Albino the alligator is a mascot, a fan-driven mascot that it was created by fans. It's going to be at the game and not the game. Don't get it. Y'all don't freak out, administration. They're not going into the game, but they will be around on Saturday. Your thoughts about, you don't have to give me your thoughts on Al himself, but having some sort of mascot at the games, do you appreciate that? I'm sure you had some in high school and you see other programs with that. When it goes to mascots, to me, I love it. I think it's hilarious, and I love the kids having it. Just your general thoughts on either Al or the mascot situation, or anything you want to comment there.
Yeah, I'm all for it, honestly. I feel like really with anything, if it adds to the game day experience, then why not? And so I feel like it'd be a cool representation of the program, and on paper, whatever's going on behind the scenes. I just play football here, so but I think it's a cool concept. I'm for it. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I don't know. It's not. If it adds to the experience, it adds to the experience. And a lot of people have kind of put thought into it and feel like it would benefit. So I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be kind of cool to see. I don't know.
Well, we'll make sure that he'll be at our tailgate this weekend. We'll make sure your dad gets a picture with him. Awesome. I think that would be awesome. Caden, again, I did not bring any kid pics. Your mom did send some more, but I figured, after you being injured, don't want to get into all of that. So we'll leave that alone for now. But
appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate, and plus you're student athlete of the week, so we don't want to say anything. But appreciate you coming on, man. As always, we love having you on, and thanks for the insight, and get us another dub this weekend.
Yes, sir. Hey, pleasure as always. I'm excited to kind of get back, and let's get it on Saturday.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. All right, boys, our brand ambassador is always just doing a great job representing us as well as the Raging Cajuns and his family, and everything he touches, man, is pretty amazing, guys. So always a pleasure to have Mr. Caden Jenson on the show. Let's get into some clips I have from Coach Dez's Wednesday presser. I want to thank, I almost said Caden again. Damn it. I'm going to get that out of my head one day. News 15, Will Heron, he hooks us up every week with some clips from that presser. First, Dez gets into what we're about to talk about, which is this week's injury report.
You know, a little bit of good news this week. You know, Matt Broussard looks good. Participated in practice today, was good. He and Caden Jenson, we feel like we'll be back this week, so that's certainly a good thing. You know, and we didn't lose anybody from last week, so you know, that's a good thing for us for sure. Getting ready to play, you know, a team that's that's pretty scary to play. So we're gonna need as many guys ready to go as we can.
All right, so Matt Broussard going to be back in. He is on the depth chart, and we'll talk about some puzzle pieces that move because of that in just a little bit. Another question that was asked was when we start in this game at the beginning, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get the run going first? Or are we trying to get the pass going first? Des answers that question.
I think it's important to get the run game going first this game, or maybe get lunch going first, or whatever it presents to you?
All the above. No, I mean, you know, the last 3 weeks we have started fairly fast with an opening drive that we scored on. Last week I thought we were able to kind of sustain that momentum and continue to kind of put pressure on the other team by scoring, you know, drive after drive. So, you know, you never really know how the game starts. It's always good to get your quarterback in a rhythm. You know, last week, I mean, the first pass we threw went for 1 yard, but he kind of gets off to a good start, and you kind of just get things rolling a little bit. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is getting your quarterback going. But, yeah, I mean, I think we're always best when we run the ball. You know, last week we ran it okay, you know, but we would like to get back to, you know, we'd been kind of churning some out, finding a way to do it. Last week we threw it a little better, which is great. Need to continue to do that. But, yeah, we'd like to try to establish a run a little better than maybe we did last week too.
And finally, Des was asked, are we going to attempt to slow down Texas State's offensive game, or are we trying to go for explosive play after explosive play offensively?
State's record is they're still a very explosive offense. Is this something that you want to try to slow them down, or do you want to go explosive play for explosive play where you guys kind of duel each other out like that?
I mean, we're not really, you know, offensively, we're not really a tempo. Every game's different, though. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of the flow of the game, I think, sometimes kind of dictates the way you have to play a little bit. We certainly would be a lot more comfortable if we could slow them down, you know, and try to just kind of be efficient on offense and sustain some drives and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, they are explosive on offense, and, you know, they score a bunch of points, and they can score quickly. They can score from far away. They play with tempo. When they play with tempo, that's always a challenge when you play these guys. You know, so, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for us defensively to be efficient on early downs so that they, you know, maybe are not as likely to get in a tempo offense and do some of that stuff. But offensively, I think getting off to a fast start is big. You know, you certainly don't want to play from behind against these guys.
All right, there are comments from Des this week. That never gets old, Lane. I'm sorry I ever started that. Guys, anything? Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead. Say what you guys.
It's Doug's picture. Just pull it back up. Pull it back up.
Doug's picture. Who is that? Is that AI?
It's AI Doug.
Doug, why do you have an AI picture, bro?
It's so random.
That looks like something you play on PlayStation 5. But anyway, let's go back to the actual story, which is Dez's comments. Anything surprising you outside of the injury report? I mean, having Matt Broussard back is, I think, good for the line as a whole. I thought Mackey did a fine job at right. I think he was at right guard or right tackle. I think he was at right tackle last week. So yeah, he and Jax did a good job on the right side of the line. Matt Broussard will get the start this week. But anything outside of that as part of the interview that you guys really stand out to you that Des had to say? No.
Listen, I'll say this. I'm glad that these interviews are kind of getting less and less controversial as the weeks go on. No, injury wise, we are finally getting healthy at the best time of the year. That's all I can say about that. You're actually gonna have depth at the offensive line now, which, even playing banged up the last couple of weeks, we've still been able to move the ball. So, now that you're getting healthier on that offensive line, it's only going to create more and more good things because you're going to be able to rotate guys out and you can go deep there. Nothing he said in the press conference was controversial to me. Actually, I'm very proud of the fact that he said, listen, we are not a tempo team. We are comfortable controlling the tempo instead of trying to push the pace, because that's the kind of offense we have. We want to try to wear you down in a sense of like controlling the line of scrimmage and controlling the clock. That's the kind of offense we run. We don't run this shoot offense. And guys, neither does Texas State. And what I mean by that is they have a lot of explosive plays on the ground. So anybody in the comments or anybody that's watching, they're not just explosive through the air. They are explosive with running the quarterback, with running the running back. They have a very explosive run game. So it's going to be a challenge not only for our defensive backs to stop the explosives in the pass game. We're also going to have to limit these runs from the offense that are just going to gash us because they can equally have explosive runs. So we have our hands full, but I'm glad that Dez came out and said, listen, we play our best football when we're controlling the tempo, when we're establishing a ground game. And I agree with him. We didn't have our best rushing performance this past week, but we didn't really need it with the way Lunch threw the football. We played to the strength of the game and how the game was flowing. Overall, though, I still thought we ran the ball pretty well. Like I mentioned, all of our backs, including Lunch, had about 50 yards. We accounted for, I want to say, just that 150 or something, maybe 160. So that's still a good day of running. But yeah, if we can get 200 yards rushing, I think we'll be okay, as we mentioned earlier in the show. And nothing Dez said was controversial, and it's getting his interviews are getting a little bit better. Other than the
Hey, you said it a few times, so here's Lane pressing the button every time you said it, but he is not Coach Dez. Don't forget that. So he is trying to pull that off as well this week. All right, let's take a look at this week's. Now I'm super conscious of saying Let's take a look at this week's depth chart. Give me 1 second. I will pull that up because I thought I had it pulled up and I don't have it pulled up, but now I have it pulled up. Let's see what we got this week. Again, one of the big changes is Matt Broussard getting the start ahead of Mackey at the right guard position. At right tackle is Jax Harrington. Ryder Bentley backing him up this week. So that is interesting. We've, of course, got Caden back at the tight end position. Shelton Sampson, Charles Robinson, and Robert Williams, the three wide receivers that we expect to see this weekend, along with Lunch. Also, you notice we have a running back missing. Blanco is not on the depth chart this week. I don't think he is officially ruled out quite yet, but that is something to keep an eye on. That would give Darryl Smith the number 3 running back spot. And I think we've seen Darryl a couple of times this season on a couple of carries, but I don't remember if there was anything significant there. And I just made that way too big. Okay, there we go. As far as defense goes, I think pretty much as I'm reading through this, everything looks pretty much the same. Again, Elam still at the star position, which allows Skipper to kick it out, as well as Cortland Flowers back at the cornerback. So I think all in all, very good. We're in very good shape. As we said, we're getting healthier at a good time. Brent Garden Jr. getting the start at cornerback. Did he get the start last week, guys? I don't remember. He did get the start. Okay. He deserves it. I mean, that guy is one of the best guys on the defense that we've seen this season, and he is a freshman, which is even that much more impressive. I'll go around the horn real quick, Jerry. Anything that stands out to you on the depth chart this week? As I said, we're getting healthier, but anything that jumps out at you?
Yeah, the fact that we last week this was the first game we didn't have an offensive lineman go out, and I think it's starting to kind of contribute to this depth chart this week. It's good to see some health, man. Finally, we have just for what we have now, we have a healthy team, and that's so refreshing.
Anything from you, superstitious one?
I'm going to go back and Elam's been back a couple of weeks, but man, Josh had mentioned it when the week that he came back. How big has it been defensively for him to be back? And in his return since his injury, it's just allowed everybody in in there to get back to their original positions. And I felt like the last couple of weeks, this defense has played pretty much to their max potential with Elam back in the lineup. So although he's been back for a couple of weeks, that's another thing that I wanted to say. A tip of the cap to the defense. They've played extremely well the last couple of weeks. But yeah, to what Jerry just said, finally we're healthy. Finally we have depth at positions. But one thing I want to say is I do want to see a number 2 wide receiver emerge this week along with Sampson. Sampson, he carried the load last week and he did a good job in doing so. But if we can have a complementary piece with him, whether it's one of the tight ends, maybe Caden will get some, force fed some targets and, get some good catches, but somebody else has got to step up in the offense because, and we're tweaking here, we're playing around, but if you can get one more playmaker on the outside to step up with Sampson and what he did last week, man, really the sky is the limit for this offense.
And then you've got Jake St. Andre on the roster backing up Terrence Williams. I just wanted to say the name because, of the text. Anyway, all right, boys, go ahead. One more
shout out to Jaden Duggar. A fantastic job last week. And listen, Jaden Duggar, Tyree Skipper, Terrence Williams, those were the 3 of the highest graded defensive players we had last week. That's 3 of the biggest names on the entire roster. A shout out to those 3 guys for holding the water, doing the job, especially late in the game where things were kind of getting away. And then you come up with a big goal line stand and, Duggar was able to get the interception late to seal it. That's all you can ask for, boys. He held them to 22 points in a conference game. If you can hold a team to 22, I feel like our offense should be able to outscore, 22 points in any given week. So a shout out to the defense, especially Jaden Duggar with a phenomenal game.
And shout out Jake St. Andre, who had nothing but great things to say about us. All right, boys, let's get that out the way and move on. We do have a special guest that I do want to bring on Rage and Review to talk about something big happening this weekend. Corey, now I'm going to butcher your last name. Is it St. Ewart or St. Award? Just tell me how to say the last name before I embarrass myself, man.
Sanawa is how you say it.
Sanawa. Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
You think it is
you ever heard of the
have
towns? You ever heard of the town Sanamall?
Well, that's
like
what I was going with.
Rouge.
Yeah. I was like, if I can pronounce Sanamall, I could pronounce that. Welcome to the show, man. And I think we've had you on before, but appreciate you coming on tonight. We have a big announcement, I guess. If you haven't heard, if you haven't seen on X or Facebook, let's just say it's getting people talking, which is what we wanted to do with the mascot situation. But Albino, the alligator, will be making an appearance not in the swamp, but at the swamp this weekend. Talk to us a little bit about what you've got planned and anything else you want to share about Al making his first appearance.
So November 5th coming up on Saturday. Yeah, Albano's going to be making his debut later this week. I'm going to release a schedule of the full slate from Cajun Walk to visiting tailgates to several other activities that I have planned for the character, just to have fun with, the people that come out for the game and, show that this is all just to have fun. The world's not going to end just because somebody in a white alligator costume shows up to Cajuns games and just has a good time, and that's all we're looking for. But very excited for him to finally make his debut. Very excited to share in the moment with all the fans that have been supportive of the character and the campaign, and realize that we're all just moving towards the same goal, which is getting new people to Raging Cajuns games, or people who stop coming, or families, the students, just being proactive on that. And yeah,
it's so polarizing, which is so funny to me. And we talked about this the other night. It's just so polarizing because people still think, for some reason, like if you have a white alligator mascot, then all of a sudden we're becoming the alligators. And that's not the case. Like we're still the Raging Cajuns, y'all. Tulane's not the Pelicans because they have a pelican mascot. We weren't the Peppers because we had Cayenne, right? So I think once Al is out in public and once they see him, because like when I saw him, I'm like, this is what people are getting upset about. Once the kids see him, I think when they're telling mommy and daddy they want to go take pictures, it might soften up a few hearts. I don't know, man. But I think once he gets out there, meets people, like they realize it's not this big bad boogeyman, I think it will soften up a lot.
Yeah, either they meet him or, they can come talk to me as well too. I hope I'm I'm just as approachable and, easily accessible to talk about why this character and, why I wanted to do this and why I want other people to join in this venture and this, this campaign. I'm not the university. I'm just some guy, right? I'm just a fan who's open to talking to anybody who wants the same thing, which is to get people to Cajuns games. I think we've just kind of let an administration that was only in it for the money and then ran off with that money kind of just ruin that experience for us. Lafayette is composed by some of the most creative people in the world. Festival Caden Jenson that's not a corporate festival, right? Festival International is not a corporate festival. Black Pot, I can go down the line of just stuff that was made by locals and people that live and breathe and love this culture every day. So, no one knows how to have a better time than we do. And I don't think anyone can design a better time than we do. So I know there's so many opportunities for people to join in on this.
I was going to ask the question somebody just posed to me in the private chat, which is, obviously, you're not going to wear the costume. I sure as hell am not wearing the costume. Lane, I don't know if you want to put it on, but have at it. What is the plan? Like, what are you looking for? Is it going to be a student in the costume? Is it going to be some friends? How is that going to be arranged as the season goes on?
Well, like good mascot etiquette, you're not really supposed to know who's in the costume. Like that's part of the illusion, right? But the primary goal with this is to make sure that there's always at least one student around to wear the costume, right? And I've been talking to several students who are arranged and interested in doing that, and hopefully publicity will grow that effort because OWL is for them. This isn't a Cajun chicken situation where it's a paid entertainer or anything. This is me trying to give something to the students to supplement student life because part of the reason the school got in such a big deficit was a lack in student growth, and I feel like the students have always been kind of an underserviced population and the most important population when it comes to the university. I mean, for a time, we were begging students to come to games, right? Well, what's the university doing to get the students to come to games other than giving out a free t-shirt, or some raffle or whatever? So this is just a little bit of thinking outside of the box of like, hey, if we can properly give this to the students and, let them have something, and particularly now that it's an unofficial, unsanctioned thing, then they can really get creative because you don't have to worry too much about school meddling and oversight. When obviously there's some lines that can't be crossed, but the end goal is to the best model is if Colonel Reb from Ole Miss, right? Colonel Reb never really went away. Ole Miss just said that it's not going to be our official mascot anymore, but you can go to Ole Miss games and still see Colonel Reb because it's run by a student organization. It's called the Colonel Reb Foundation, and that's just kind of a club. And in an ideal world, we can work with students to create a club to where this albino, this spirit leader, is operated by them like a club, and it could still fly under the unofficial, unsanctioned mascot thing, but it's another avenue for students to just get jazzed about going to Cajuns games and also being an ambassador for all things Acadiana culture.
So Corey, I gotta ask, man, you've been going through this effort for a couple of years now. Maybe 3 years? Was
3
it
years?
2, 3 years?
Yeah.
And finally this is happening. I wanted to ask you, and you've spoken on it before. The communication with the university, I know that the effort really hasn't been there on their part. They've said publicly they don't want a mascot, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever offered, hey, look, if it's money, if it's an issue, I'm an alum, I can help you design the mascot, let me help? Has there ever been like communication in that regard?
No, and I wish that there had. Because I really don't know if we'd be having these conversations. I think treating an alum would have gone with respect and consideration would have gone a long way. Um, instead of it was just ignorance or like it's a pest, you know. A lot of things. Something I think about is like, you know, I'm not just some guy, right? I'm not just an alum either. An alum. I'm an alum that came from the School of Visual Arts. Like I have a degree in that. I'm now have a master's from an Ivy League school in storytelling. I have work in the U.S. Library of Congress, specifically about you know, Louisiana French music. I have a narrative in Louisiana French. Like I've slid down Marcus Park during the snow on a crawfish tray, you know. You know, I've gotten a dollar burger from the Bulldog, you know. I've relaxed at Marley's. I've been to the Keg when it was open, you know, because getting up there in age, right? That kind of just outed myself. But you know, JSP, I've I live it, you know. I've lived it and I've lived it, and you know, whoever designed Cayenne didn't, right? Whoever designed whoever, you know, Cajun Man didn't, like, so
Cajun
who
Man
else?
was Colonel Reb, just in
In
different
red.
clothing. Like
In
it
red.
was,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
no creativity behind it.
yeah. I mean, so you know, have your favorite mascot, whatever, but just know that like albino comes from one of us, like, you know, it comes from someone who just lives and breathes. I love Cajun dancing, you know. I have, you know, uh it's truly coming from one of us. So if you don't want a person like that in the room designing your spirit leader, or at least having some influence in that, then I don't know what you're looking for. And I think we're just always going to run up against that we go with an outside if we go with an outside marketing firm, you know, searching for the answers when I think the answers are in house.
Corey, what are you most looking forward to on Saturday? Like, just as a culminating moment.
Uh, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the people who have been waiting for this moment just as much as I have. You know, only on Facebook do you see comments of like, this is wildly unpopular, like nobody wants this. And you look on everywhere else, you go to Cajun Threads, people are excited. You go to Raging Cajun, people are excited. You go on Twitter, people have had albino as their profile picture for almost a year now, you know, multiple, or it's in their banner. Um, you go on Instagram, you know, every post about it, you know, there's likes and comments and excitement. So a lot of people have wanted this for a long time, as much as, you know, as much I've, if not more I've than I have. So seeing that moment with them is going to be really nice. It's going to be really mean a lot, because it symbolizes hope. There's just so many things that have happened in our university that has made it hard to dream, right? You know, football team's off to a very hard season. You know, basketball failed its first game. You know, there's just so much uncertainty. So I hope this brings some excitement.
I just have a couple more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So with this regime change that you're seeing, like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that went on, but a lot of people, including the one who wrote the letter to you, is no longer with the university. So things are changing within the university, and I think there might do well. I'm not going to say I think. Do you think that there's more of an opportunity in the future once this all settles down to maybe revisit that conversation and reach out to them again to see if some sort of partnership could be formed there?
I think with every new administration, there's always an opportunity. One of the things that I stated in the phase 3 pitch materials that I put out there is that Otto the Orange of Syracuse University, which is now part of the Mascot Hall of Fame, he was an unsanctioned mascot for 17 years. 17 years. He just operated as an unofficial mascot until a regime came, said they wanted to do a spirit leader, and none of their ideas could beat Otto, you know. And whether that'll be albino, I don't know. But, you know, I think it's definitely worth consideration what we can do here. I was on the school's website today, and they have a tab asking for input. And I think that's incredible from our university. I highly recommend it. Just input on changes and
The
how website
transparency
forward.
now is
Transparency
amazing.
is insane, like a night and day switch, right? And that's what we've been missing. And I think it's very, very important. Like, listen, so Jennifer Stevens, the lady who told me no, she's no longer here. She got fired, rightfully so. But I'm never going to take the word of someone who's only here for a paycheck as the definitive word. You know what I mean? Like, she came here to be the VP of marketing communications because we paid her. She did a bad job. You know, we're in this deficit. She did a bad job. And now she's over at Texas Southern. Some white lady from Alabama is now the marketing person for an HBCU in Texas. If that is not a track record of, like, I will just take whatever job you give me, I don't really care about the market that I'm showing to. I don't, you know, exhibit A. So now that she's gone, I really don't know who's in charge of that office. I know their budget got cut a lot as well too. But this is what it is. There's always going to be Cajun so long as there's Cajun fans that feel like they need a spirit leader or something. That's who I'm doing this project for, not someone who's here collecting a paycheck to tell some fan, to try to dictate and tell a fan and alum how they can be passionate about their university. Oh, you want to support the university? Give us more money, because that's exactly what they said in that email.
And then shut your mouth. Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. You know, give to our scholarships, give to our give us more money. That's the only way that you can show pride in your university.
Sounds familiar, Jerry. We know all about that, right?
Yeah. And all of you guys are living proof that, you know, on contrary, it can be so many different things and service so many different people. So yeah.
Well, on contrary, we're going to speak our minds because we give money. We're alumni just like you are. And we're, like Nick always says, we're the paying customer. So if you don't like what we have to say, that's too bad. That's our mindset. And that's why sometimes they are a little reactive to us. But, you know, I did want to ask you this, Corey, because I do think it's important. You know, albino, I'll just be honest with you. There's been a lot of mixed reactions, right? Some people get a little too much in detail about, well, it's an alligator and I don't know about the alligator. My point of view, I'm like, look, it's something. And I'll be honest with you, Corey, I thank you for the effort, because you know what? It's something. And you've put a lot of thought into it. And I'm hoping that this thing turns out, you know, into something really special. But I did want to ask you a hypothetical, because in the future, in case maybe there is dialogue, right? Maybe if there's new people at the university that are trying to put the effort later on. And I know I asked you about volunteering, but if somebody were to say, hey, look, we want a mascot. We like the fact that you've put forth the effort, but maybe albino's not the concept. Would you be willing to change the concept of albino into something different if that conversation were to come up? Because it is a possibility in the future, maybe, right? I mean, They may say, well, you know, that's a good idea, but maybe an alligator may be a little too generic. I'm just throwing it out there. Let's come up with something else. Would you be willing to do that with all the work you've already put in?
Yeah, I'd be willing to be part of that conversation. Like, albino wasn't made on a whim. Like, you know.
Oh, I know that.
Guys,
you put a lot of time into it.
Put a lot of time, and that time is research, right? If there is something deeper than albino, then I would love to find it. But I only say that with the caveat of, like, I've done a lot of digging, done a ton of research, looked around. It would be very, very hard to find something that works better than the character that is presented now. Not just because he's white and our school colors are red and white, but using the iconography that is already seen around us. There's gators all around us, even from homecoming to the markets. The character is really about putting opportunity to increase the university's marketability. I mean, you've seen several images online of just already, artists making albino themselves, and I think the biggest fear with the uniqueness of the Raging Cajun is trying to overthink the wheel. I think that's been our biggest fault when it comes to this whole spirit leader thing.
100%, man. Look, Western Kentucky has a world-renowned blob that looks like Gossamer from Looney Tunes, and it is a world-renowned mascot. I mean,
how old are you, Jerry? Seriously, Gossamer from Looney Tunes.
I'm telling you, man, that's exactly what it is.
It
and
looks
somehow
like a blood clot.
It's a blob.
Just say that. It looks like a blood clot.
But the nickname is Hilltopper. So you're thinking like somebody who, lives on the hill, Davy Crockett type, and it's a red blob. And yet it's so famous. And I'm glad you brought that up, because the term Raging Cajun, so many people are like, well, what exactly do we do? It's like, well, there was a guy who was a chicken, who basically picked a chicken costume at the last minute and became iconic for us. I think it's more about who's in the costume than the actual concept, in my opinion. What do you think? I mean, is it also important as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the passion behind it and who's gonna fight for it, right? So the Kentucky Hilltopper blob was made up by a student, and that student worked hard to present it and won over the committee, and then worked even harder to win over the fan base, and that's why it sticks today. That's why it can't be a corporate spirit leader, because if you pay someone to design a spirit leader and then they pay and then leave, when it inevitably faces pushback, because change, there's always pushback to change, who's going to fight for it, right? Who's gonna stick it out? And Cayenne didn't have that. The Hilltopper, the blob did. Who else did you say? I'm sorry. What other character did you say?
Well, I said he looked like Gossamer from Looney Tunes.
Somebody from Looney Tunes.
But
whatever.
That was the big thing with the blob, is that it came from them, and it's unique and it was spirited. When people come to the Raging Cajun thing, think of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, right? Like their spirit leader is the leprechaun. It's like of the culture, but it's not like you need to depict Irish people, right? It's something that's adjacent to Irish culture, and it works, and it's a great representative for all kinds of people that go to Notre Dame, right? So as much as the like, how can we make a caricature of Cajun people, I think it's important to think of like, how can we make something that can market to every kinds of people that comes to UL and stays in Acadiana. So that's kind of like my pitch with that.
Corey Santawar, I hope I'm saying your name right. Is that
That's
right?
close enough.
Close enough. We're going to go with that. Corey, appreciate you being on. Last thing before we go real quick, where can we find Al this weekend?
Well, he's definitely going to be at the Rage and Review tailgate. I can tell you that much
That's
now.
right.
He's definitely going to make the appearance there. He's going to be at the Cajun Walk. But people can find me on social media, either on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. Message me where your tent is. If you're tailgating, tell me where it is, and I'll make sure Al pops by. Have a plate lunch ready for him. He'll take it with him. He's always a hungry gator, like any Cajun is. So just have a plate lunch ready for him, and we'll bring him on by your tent, and we'll have a good old time.
Just no biting. No biting.
No promises on that one. No promises.
Man, appreciate your time, appreciate your passion and your effort, and we'll keep in touch. Maybe we'll have you back after the last game of the season just to see how everything went for you. But again, thank you for everything you've done. We appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk real soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Corey. What a great conversation. Looking forward to seeing Al at the tailgate and other tailgates as well this weekend. Let's bring our boy KG on, because we're about to talk some basketball. And we're going to talk about the basketball team's latest game. Jerry, if you want to get into that real quick, and then we have a special guest that I interviewed, or two guests that I interviewed earlier last week, but did want to mention the men's basketball team having their first game of the season in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. Did not go probably as well as we thought it would go. They ended up losing to not Bowling Green. I'm reading the wrong. Ball State. There we go. Ball State in the MAC SBC Challenge, dropping that game 75-64. They were competitive through a lot of the game. Shooting woes really killed them at the end. Their defense was absolutely solid. And I think Jackson is going to be a player for us. It took him a little while to kind of get started, but we can't just depend on Jackson to score, right? We got to have other guys on the team step up and get some scoring done. And we got to also have a presence in the rebounding under the net as well. So talk to us a little bit about the loss on earlier this week to the Ball State Cardinals.
Yeah, so basically it was the opening game for the Quantas White era. Not the way we wanted it to go, but I will say there are a few notes I took during the game as I watched, and I must say this team is really athletic as far as defensively. They swarm to the basketball. That's one thing that you see at Houston that Coach Quantas White adopted from that style of defense that they play, which got him into a national championship. Of course, Calvin Sampson, just a massively legendary coach, learned from the best. So I think he wants to bring some of that here. I thought earlier in the game, the first 4 to 8 minutes, we actually got a bunch of defensive rebounds. We really swarmed, double teamed some of the Ball State possessions, which I thought was really good. Try to create some fast break opportunities. But the biggest thing for us is every time we went and we got a rebound or were able to get possession, we couldn't finish. We missed some easy jump shots. We missed some easy layups. We went 9 for 28 on 3-pointers tonight. The other night. We were 2 for 28 against North Texas in that exhibition. So you combine those two, that's 11 for 56. So our 3-point shooting needs to improve. I do know that we definitely open up opportunities to take some open shots. We moved the ball around pretty well. We just couldn't sink shots. And what happened was, while we were playing defense and we were able to swarm to the basketball, even when we would get a shot off and make something, Ball State would respond with a 3-pointer. The first half, they stayed in the game because they kept nailing threes. We couldn't. I mean, I'm just looking at some of these first half stats right here, guys. We were 37.9% from the field in the first half. Ball State was 50%. 4 for 13 from 3-pointers. They were 5 for 10. We had 15 rebounds. They had 13. We fouled 10 times. We had 9 fouls, I believe, in the first 10 minutes of the game. Can't do that. And so the transition was definitely a little more difficult for us as time went on. I think we kind of wore out a little bit, but we still took the lead in the first half on a buzzer beater. And that was huge, 29-28 lead. But in the second half, I think we started to wear down a little bit. And once again, Ball State was making some really key shots. And they also beat us in the inside game. I mean, if you really think about it, they outscored us in the inside paint 32-24. They outscored us with bench points. They outscored us on the bench 29-18. But we did out-rebound them, 29 rebounds to their 25. But overall, guys, I mean, we shot 42% from the field. They shot 52.2% from the field. We were, again, 9 for 28 on 3-pointers. They shot 53%. I think there were 8 for 15 or something like that. It's not in front of me, but they were 53% from 3-point range. We weren't. So that made the big difference. Also, free throws. They outscored us 19-5 on 3 free throws because they had 28 free throws to our 9. So
shocking.
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest with you, our style of play, if we want to play fast-paced defense, when we in transition on a fast break, you got to finish. And we just missed way too many easy jump shots. We made a few 3-pointers at the end to kind of keep it close, but they really ran away. Ball State really ran away with it in the final 3 minutes. It was a 4-point game with 3 or 4 minutes to go. They ran away with it. Just to give some main stats and some names to remember for the Cajuns. I mean, Jamarian Keller played for 34 minutes. He led with 21 points. Jackson Olvera, he's going to be an up-and-comer. He's kind of that 3-point shooter. That's the transfer from Pepperdine. I think as the season goes on, he's going to get better, and he's going to be our 3-point guy, kind of like we had with Kentrell Garnett over the last 3 or 4 years. That's going to be our guy. He also missed some inside shots, some easy stuff in the paint. Can't do that against teams like this, especially when you're in transition. Davion Laverne had 10 points. Darius Woodson had 6. Dorian Finster had 4 points. Kyron Ratliff had 4 points. And then, of course, Jeremiah Evans had 2 points. Jeremiah Evans got into foul trouble early on. If we want some big inside presence, Jeremiah Evans and Kyron Ratliff are going to have to complement one another. We need inside presence. Our guard plays really fast. I like the fact that we move the ball. We have a high tempo up court. Need that inside presence. I thought Ball State took advantage of that in the second half. We had to force some fouls. They had a bunch of and one shots on top of that, 3-point plays. We had those opportunities. We couldn't sink the free throws. Look, guys, I'm just going to say it. It's the first game. I know there were some people that were panicking the other night. We had a lot of hype coming into this season. This is a team in progress. This is a work in progress, okay? The good news is we have Southeastern on Friday night. I think this team can weather the storm a little bit against Southeastern, hopefully improve, get a win, sink their shots, their easy, opportune shots. And look, we're going to have a showdown next Tuesday against Tulane. Ron Hunter and the Green Wave coming to the Cajun Dome. So these next 2 games are crucial. I think we can right the ship. We have an opportunity against 2 in-state opponents that we're really familiar with. So we're going to need everybody to show up. I know they want to get 12,000 in the Cajun Dome. Obviously, I really, unfortunately, don't expect it. But we need to support these guys starting Friday night. And yeah, not the way we wanted to go in the first game. But I will tell you, I do see a huge difference in quality of talent compared to what we saw last year. And that in itself is a huge start.
Yeah, it didn't feel like you're watching street ball. And I'll go back and you were talking about the foul trouble. Look, some of those fouls we deserve to get called for some of those. Some of them were absolutely horrid.
They're ticky-tack.
I mean, when you have 3 guys foul out, like that's clearly, when the discrepancy in the fouling, that's, it's a little bit of home cooking there. But one of the most impressive things, I mean, you've got your 5'11" point guard that had 6 rebounds. He had the most rebounds on the team. Jackson had the most rebounds on the entire team. The guy hustles, man. And because of his aggressiveness, he will draw fouls, especially when you're on the road in that type of environment. And Keller, look, I love the fact that he put up 21 points. He was also 7 for 20 in field goals. Like, he's got to get better. If you're putting up 20 shots, you got to hit more than 7. So, again, I think as the season wears on, we can all agree that we see the talent here. It's just a matter of putting it together. And let's not forget, this is Q's first dibs as a Division I head coach. Like, being an assistant and being the head guy, 2 completely different things. But if you notice, the guys were nobody is going to out hustle us and nobody is going to out condition us, because he absolutely had that team ready to play. Just didn't go our way. But I think good things are here to come, and I think we'll have a better litmus test against Tulane. Final thoughts, Jerry.
And one other thing, in his post-game interview, you know what he said? And he said, look, we just need to play better. He didn't make excuses about the free throws, lopsidedness. Remember, the former coach, well, they had 28 shots, we had 9. None of that. It was straight up accountability, got to get better. And that was a breath of fresh air. I'm not going to lie. I'm so glad all that's gone.
Death, taxes, and Jerry talking about the last guy. Certainties in life. Boys, I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with a local celebrity and his son. Why were we sitting down with and Lane? Why were we sitting down and talking to Cupid? Well, the reason is because his son Christian will be playing for the Raging Cajuns. He committed to us a couple of weeks ago. We wanted to know a little bit of insight about what it's like being recruited. Of course, Lane and I just are fanboys, and we wanted to talk to Cupid. But all in all, we wanted to get a perspective of what it's like going through the recruiting process as both a player and a dad, really, to find out, what that experience was like. So here's a quick interview with Bryson, Cupid, and Christian Bernard. As we would like to welcome in very special guests, father and son, Bryson and Christian Bernard. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and let's get right into it. So first, I want to introduce Bryson Bernard, the father, because he was originally on the track and field team at UL back in the day, and I know that kind of like led to, and I'm not going to call it a boy band because that's not what it was, but there was For Show, right? That was a band, a singing group that you started, right after your track career. And then, of course, your solo career, which everybody knows you as Cupid, because you came up with the Cupid Shuffle just a few years ago. So I kind of wanted to ask you, kind of about your time at UL and how that kind of parlayed into a singing career and then a solo career as Cupid.
Well, man, when I got there, I was recruited by Tommy Betton and Coach Longson, and I ran at Northside. Got there, man, and I started getting involved in college life, and that consisted of doing talent shows and different fraternity and sorority events, which led to my musical career. But track was definitely my thing going into college, man. They had some pretty good times, but I ventured off to become a singer, and that actually worked out.
I think it worked out pretty well for you, man. And let's talk about that because, like I said, the Cupid Shuffle, huge hit, made the Billboard charts, still playing it at weddings. I think Nick Saban was doing the Cupid Shuffle in some recruits' living room. I mean, it's awesome how that took off. Talk about that success of your single and how that really changed your life.
Yeah, man. Coming from Lafayette, Louisiana, man, is an excellent representation. For the 337 area code. Like anytime you hear it, you just reference Lafayette. And I haven't moved. I've lived in Lafayette my whole life, so I'm a child of the city, man. And to be able to have a song like "Keep It Shuffle" represent a whole region, a whole area code, I think is a beautiful thing, man. So I embrace it. I'm 337 all the way.
That's awesome, man. And look, you represent us so well. We've got a lot of guys from the 337 representing us right now. Dustin Poirier, to name one of them, and a couple other guys in UFC. Daniel Cormier, all Northside guys, by the way.
I graduated with Daniel Cormier. We played football together.
And by the way, I was in Acadiana. I didn't play football, but it was around the same time you were in high school. Y'all were pretty good back then. I gotta say, y'all were pretty good back in the day.
A little something.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on, but we got to talk about the next big thing, the next big hit, which is my boy Christian here. Christian, thank you, man. We saw the announcement on Instagram first, and I think I immediately shared that on the Twitter side because we were excited to have a 337 product going to UL and becoming a commit. So that really excited us. So tell us a little about yourself. You're a senior at LCA. First talk about the upcoming basketball season and also about Coach Broussard. Like, what do you guys expect out of your basketball team this year?
Thank you. This year, we've got a lot of guys with a lot of chemistry, pretty much the same team from last year. So we have the pieces. If we can just puzzle it together, I think we'll have a great season. Coach Jacob Broussard, he knows what he's talking about. Great coach, and he believes in his players. Takes a lot of time out of his own personal life to invest into us. So, and also as well, our other two coaches, Karen Baker and DJ Angel, really great coaches. So I think we're going to have a really great season.
Now, are we recruiting you as a point guard?
Yes, sir.
Is that the position you always play? Because I saw some of your highlight films that had some pretty good music. I think your dad might have been responsible for that, but I saw some of your highlight film. You look like you're a pretty good shooting guard as well, but is point guard kind of what you're good at? That's your position?
Yes, sir. Primary ball handler, but every now and then, I can spot up and knock down the shots if needed be.
That's awesome. Now, another thing I'm thinking about is you growing up in Lafayette, your dad being a UL track and field star. Was like basketball something you as a kid like wanted to do, or like, in my case, my dad kind of made me do it for a couple years, and then I ended up loving it. What was your story coming up and playing basketball as a kid?
I played all sports, baseball, football, soccer, basketball, all of that when I was a kid. But towards maybe when I got like 12, 13, I stuck with basketball. And, I really had a passion for it. And fortunately, I was blessed enough to be with the right people, the right coaches that helped me get the resources that I need to become the player that I am today.
And before you go, Lane, you're also you play football as well, right?
Yes, sir. I used to.
Any other sports that you get into besides basketball and football?
Baseball a little bit, but majority basketball and football.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about a little bit about the recruiting process. How was that to go through? Did you reach out to UL, or did they reach out to you first? How did that kind of go?
So Coach Amber Gregg, my AAU coach, very great coach. During the summer, we played at a Pro 16 tournament in Wichita, Kansas, and he came out and watched. I played pretty well, and from there, he just kind of watched a little bit, watched the film, and this past fall, I went to one of his camps, and I did pretty well at the camp. So he stayed tapped in. And then I went visit a couple schools the past couple months, and he reached out and he wanted me to come, watch a practice and chop it up with the coaches. And from there, it was just I really liked what I seen.
Now, were there any other schools that reached out to you, and if not, or if there were, what made you choose UL?
There were few other smaller schools, but UL, man, is Coach Quanis, great coach, a great resume. He went to the national championship last year. A point guard coach at that. And it's nothing like home at the end of the day.
Got to tell you, man, I'm pumped up with Coach Q. I mean, anytime you get a guy like that,
yes, sir.
We're lucky, man. We're lucky. We're going to need to hold on to him because I think we're going to have a lot of fun this season. Now, I do want to ask you, Bryson, as a father going through the recruiting process, what was that like for you? Because I know it has to be hard kind of sitting back, and I'm assuming you let Christian make his own decision on where he wants to go and all of that. But talk to me about what the recruiting process from your standpoint was like for UL and other schools reaching out.
It was very tedious, as far as, understanding his skill set, by him being a point guard, and so on and so forth. A lot of times it was like just getting people to understand his skill set, putting it out there. We had some really good schools that were on the list. And again, he hasn't even played his full senior year yet. So I know, we could have waited and started the process and see, but when Coach Q called, man, and when, it was just like meeting with him, I just knew that it's going to make Christian a better basketball player in a great system. But it was tough, man, because, accumulating film and getting it out there and taking them trips and going all over through the summer, playing summer ball with the school. All of those things, built up this opportunity. But it's always difficult, man, just trying to put these kids out there through social media and so on and so forth. So, but we, fortunately, I think we landed in the right spot.
I think that's overlooked, man, because everything now is social media. Like back in our day, it was all VHS tapes just hit places, but now it's all social media, so it's all out there. So they have a bigger pool of people to pull from because they can just go on Twitter and watch it, right?
Yeah, not only that, you got the transfer and portal and so many things going on. So you're absolutely right. There's so many factors that come into this that I've learned. Like you said, man, I just ran at the parish track meet in Lafayette and won, and Coach Bledon was there because it was at UL. These days it's different, man.
That is crazy. Now, I do have to ask you, did you have any opportunity, Christian, to meet some of the players on this year's team?
Yes, sir. I've met a couple of them from the camp that I went to, and then a couple of them I know personally from like playing against and on the same team years back.
Who do you look most forward to seeing play for the Cajuns this year?
I have two. Todd and I forgot his name, but he's the point guard, light-skinned guy, got tattoos on his arm. Those two guys.
His name is escaping me too, but I know who exactly you're talking about. I'm bad at names.
Yeah.
But I know they're going to kill me on the podcast when I play this because they're like, how could you forget his name, bro? But I know exactly. In fact, I was talking about him last night. Christian Landry's a big fan of us as well. His brother is, don't ignore his brother. Don't let his brother Ryan get anywhere around you. He's a mess. No, they're great people, man, and I think you're going to be in good hands. And I think it's just staying in Lafayette, being around that family atmosphere. It's so close to home, and being a D1 college athlete. I mean, that's got to be special for you. Did you meet Raham Olajuwon? I hope I'm saying his name right, but did you get to meet him? I think it's Rahman.
I didn't get to meet him personally, but I've seen him.
I mean, I don't know about you, Bryson, but for me, like Hakeem Olajuwon, it was in Lafayette last week. I mean, how cool is that? I'm fanning out just by having you here, but like if I saw Hakeem Olajuwon walking around the corner, I would freak out. Totally.
Yeah. I was the same at the banquet, man. I sitting kind of next to him. Fortunately, I got a picture. I was kind of nervous to ask because I'm like, man, this really the dream, you know?
Yeah. So, like I said, Coach Q, a lot of hope, a lot of things going on in Lafayette with him. I think we're going to have an amazing few years. You saw the turnaround in Lake Charles with Will Wade. I think that's what we're looking at it for Louisiana this year. But talking about Coach Q, you know, did you have a lot of communication with him in the process, in the recruiting process? Or was that mostly, I mean, this is your chance to give other coaches, a thumbs up and say, thank you for recruiting me. But anybody else involved in the process that you wanted to thank or kind of give a shout out to?
Honestly, just, my parents, my school coaches, my teammates and coaching staff for, seeing something in me and wanting to give me the shot to, play at a high level like that.
Man, we are excited. Lane, do you have anything else for Christian this afternoon? Or hey, Cupid, I keep calling him Bryce. So you have anything for Cupid? Do you hate being called that, by the way, or is that still cool? We still call you
Cupid is fine, man. I've been called that for 20 years, man, so it's all good.
Lane, you have anything for the boys?
Christian, what's it like being Cupid's son? Do you get annoyed by hearing all the talk, or do you just like, yeah, that's my dad?
It's kind of just like a regular thing now, but it's a blessing for sure. I wouldn't trade him for anybody in the world.
That's awesome, man. We wouldn't trade him either. He's like I said, he's representing the 337, just like Daniel, just like all the other people that are doing that. So we appreciate it. Before we go, I do want to give you guys a chance. First of you, Cupid, tell us about any new music you have coming out. Where can we find you on socials? Tell us what's going on in your world these days.
Just a new album. The Line Dance King is out right now, man. I'm on pause right now. I dropped an album before basketball season because I'm not missing no games. You know what I mean? So we dropped the album right before the first basketball game, and but it's out right now, man. And it's official new Cupid on Instagram. But like I said, I'm about to be in straight sideline eating nachos, dad mode, man. Enjoying this senior season and looking forward to what Coach Quan has got coming up, man. I'm super excited to support them and be in that dome every week.
That is going to be awesome. We're excited about it. I'll be there. Unfortunately, I live in Houston, so I did buy season tickets, so I'll be out there this season. And Christian, hey, we're going to see you on that court soon enough. But before we do, and you'll have a chance to make it into, I think they still have the championship in the dome this year, right? So or next year.
I think so. It's either there or Lake Charles.
Lake Charles. Either way, we hope to see you on the hardwood in either place in the state championship. Yes, tell us where we can find you on your socials.
On Instagram, Christian Bernard. The first I in Christian is a 1. And on X or Twitter, Chris Bernard. The first I is a 1.
Awesome, man. And we'll send that out as well, fellas. It has been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you today. Look forward to keeping up with your high school career and seeing how you finish out strong as a senior. Look forward to seeing you as a Raging Cajun very soon. And Cupid, keep repping the 337, baby. We appreciate it.
All love, man.
All right. Thank you, fellas. You have a good one.
Thank y'all.
All right, guys. I mean, come on. How cool was that, Lane? How awesome was that? I was smiling the whole time watching it over again. Like, typically, I step away when we have those pre-recorded things and then come back. But, man, tell me Bryson did not raise just a fine dude. That is what we need as Cajuns, Lane. That was awesome.
Oh, he definitely did. The craziest part was that I literally called him, or he called me first. But we got his number through one of our Twitter followers. We appreciate
Coach Andrus. Yeah.
Reaching out to him and letting us interview Christian and him. But to be able to just talk shop with him and talk to him about the interview in general was a really cool thing. I mean, I never thought I'd be talking face to face, or not really face to face, but talking with Cupid. And it was overall a cool experience.
Dude, how many times have I said on the show, I never thought I'd be talking to so-and-so, and here we are. Phil Steele. I mean, who talked to the guy who wrote the book? And here we are. But very cool. And, yeah, that was a really, really great experience. Before we call it a night, we do have Grimmies. We do have Lane's Lines coming up. We'll try to get through this really, really quickly, but do want to give shout outs to other teams that are currently playing outside of men's basketball. We do have women's basketball, who that was the score I was reading to you guys earlier. They dropped their first game of the season to Bowling Green in the MAC SBC Challenge, 82-67. They move on to face Delta State on Friday night. The Raging Cajuns basketball team, of course, will move on to play Southeastern after the ladies in the Cajun Dome on Friday as well, 7:30 tip-off. And looking forward to that game as well. See how the Raging Cajuns rebound from the loss. Moving on to volleyball, they dropped a match to Arkansas State. Actually, 2 matches to Arkansas State over the last week. They now move on to face ULM on Thursday night at 6 p.m., followed by another Friday contest. If you have the chance, go out to the historic Earl K. Long Gym and check out the ladies. It is free. We're trying to get to over 1,000 in attendance. We can make that happen, but we need your help doing it. They're currently 12-10 overall, 4-8 in conference. So they've got a little bit of work to do, but Coach Gray has them on the path, and I trust in her. And finally, man, got to talk about women's soccer. You know, last few years have not been really competitive. They come in to the conference tournament as the 8th seed, facing the number 1 seed, South Alabama. Not only do they hold them scoreless in regulation, they also lost their goalie because of a red card. She came out of the box and went for the ball, and apparently they considered that because she went toward a player. I don't know. They handed her a red card. So they dressed out one of their position players as goalie, so that not only were they down for like half of regulation 1 player, they were down their goalie and still managed to get through regulation and 2 overtimes scoreless with South Alabama, the number 1 seed. It came down to penalties. We went up 3-1 in penalty kicks, and unfortunately South Alabama got the last 2, so they tied it up and then ended up getting the game winner eventually in sudden death. But you gotta tip your hat to the ladies, man. I know soccer, women's soccer in Lafayette may not be a huge thing, but if you have a chance, support all of our folks, because they really work their tails off and really make all of this, the athletic department's not just football, baseball, basketball. We got other great sports as well, and softball, of course. All right, Lane, let's go over to Lane's Lines. I know you've got the look here. We got your graphic up this week, man. Let's talk about your picks. Let's go through them, and then we'll talk about how you've done so far this season. What you got going on, man?
So we actually have the right graphic up this week, which that was on me last week. But this week we have Texas State and UL. Obviously, the line opened up at like 4, I think, 4.5, something like that. Now it's down to 2.5. With Texas State being a 2.5 road favorite, with the over-under of 63.5, which it depends on what kind of offense both teams bring out, if we'll see that over happening. I don't anticipate it happening, but you just never know. The game that I was like going back and forth with on the money line or the spread was the East Carolina game with Charlotte. East Carolina is 28.5 point favorites.
Good Lord.
I think Charlotte covers that, but I went ahead and did the money line game for that one.
I mean, how bad is Charlotte for them to be 28.5 point dogs against East Carolina? Like, that's something you see in P5 teams or P4.
Yeah. No, I wasn't expecting it to be that high, but I know that Charlotte is not very good, and I believe they fired their coach this year. The spread game that I have is Auburn and Vandy, and it's at Vandy. Vandy's a 6.5 point favorite. I think it started out at like 7.5 or 7, but I feel like Vandy will pull away, especially after Auburn fired their head coach last week. I just feel like with Vandy being at home, they pulled that one out pretty easily. The game of the week that I'm projecting is BYU at Texas State. Both offenses are high-powered, and I guess Raging Cajuns West. With Texas State's offense.
Texas
I feel like
Tech,
both of those,
not Texas State.
Texas State, Texas Tech, same difference. I feel like that's a pretty low over for both of those teams, so that's why I went with getting the over in that one, especially after not hitting the under last week.
So let's go back to Texas State at UL. Who are you picking there? Because I don't see anything highlighted.
Yeah, I'm not picking that game because
that's what I figured.
The first game of the week or first week of the season, I picked UL to win or something, and it didn't go. That was the only pick I didn't get right, and I want to say it was the spread at like 11.5.
So you're just staying away at this point.
Yeah, I'm staying away. I'm not touching UL. Not betting on them at any point.
So you did not do so well last week there, Lane, but overall, I mean, I guess fairly decent, right? What is your record so far? Do you have that written down?
15 as of last week. I'm 15-16.
Okay.
Overall, I'm hoping that I'll get a clean sweep this week in my favor. I feel like I picked 3 pretty easy games to pick, with the East Carolina game being that big of a difference, and Vandy playing home against a team that doesn't have their head coach, and another game that has two high-powered offenses. So I feel like it's in my favor.
Good stuff. Well, still, I mean, after 10 weeks, that's not so bad. A lot better than I would do. So we'll see how you do this weekend. You have some chance to make up some ground because I do like your picks this week. And of course, now it is time for my favorite segment, courtesy of my mother. Here we go.
C'est l'heure pour la grémie. Emmenez à vous autres pas mange Lafayette.
I wonder if my mama's still watching. She sometimes watches in bed when we get late, but not often. Let's talk about something that Louisiana or South Louisiana loves so much. And my friend from Philly came down to a Mardi Gras ball, and she was like, why y'all have line dances for everything? She's like, everything was a line dance. So let's talk about that. What is your go-to line dance that when they play, you got to get on the floor and dance to? I'm not going to ruin it by giving him mine yet, because I feel like Cole and I are on the same level here. But Cole, I'm going to let you go first, whether it's a Mardi Gras ball or a wedding, or you just out at Shorty's Casino or whatever. Tell us, what is your go-to line dance?
Well, first off, you got to tell the people why is the question of the week. Obviously, it's because of Cupid. We got
Well,
Cupid
yeah, because of Cupid. I'm sorry. I missed that, bro.
You got to preface that, bro. But listen, I'll start the show, and I always have 2 answers, but I'm only going to give one because I want y'all to go around the horn. I'm going to give my second one. It's the freeze, man. Give me some Ronnie Millsap. Ain't nothing. You can't do nothing without the freeze. If I don't hear the freeze at any event I go to, and it ain't there it is. Hey!
You know what's so funny is my mama. Like, I have pictures of my mama and her sisters and my sister-in-law practicing the freeze. Like, how you gotta practice it? It's got 3 moves, bro. And they had freeze practice.
You ain't a kid. Doing the freeze is like drinking a Bloody Mary on a Sunday morning. It's like playing boo-ray with your aunties, your mama, your daddy, your uncles. The freeze is as ingrained in the Cajun culture as anything. The freeze, I'm going to live and die by the freeze, baby.
Y'all
gotta
remember
hear the freeze everywhere.
Y'all remember when they had the giant jam box at KSMB when they were 94.5 and they would have freeze parties? Ball. Let's talk about that. Let's go to you, Lane. What is your go-to line dance?
So I have to be, let me put this the right way. I have to be heavily inebriated to do any kind of dancing. But
I would love to see that, by the way.
I will go with Haters by Keith Frank and Lil Boosie.
Dude, that is such a good one, man. It's not my go-to because it's relatively new, but I will not hate on that at all whatsoever. That's a good one. And if you ever go to a Keith Frank concert, like, he'll tease you with it, and then he'll start playing something else, and he'll tease you with it again. So you go onto the dance floor to do it, then you go back, and then it's just back and forth. But man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Jerry, your thoughts?
Lane
if you say bunny hop, bruh, I'm gonna hit you.
Oh, it's freaking bunny hop. What's wrong with you? No, Haters was mine.
You said it like a former softball.
The hell it is. No, look, haters was mine because I'm gonna tell you, dude. The back in the day at City Bar at midnight, they hit it, and then you hear that boozy remix, dude. It hit hard. But I'm gonna give you another one. I like the wobble. I'm all about the wobble. I remember going to Lundy Graw, and it was like the Zulu Rex, and like the whole Riverwalk was doing it. That was when I first learned it. But yeah, the wobble's a go-to for me.
How do we turn any conversation into New Orleans? Leave it to Jerry.
Get in there.
because nobody does the wobble like Lundy Graw.
Oh my God. Really?
But yeah, Lane, you took mine, dude. Haters was mine too, man. But I'm gonna give one. I say the wobble. I like the wobble. That's mine.
All right. I'm gonna look. I feel Demontre just freaking attacked me because he said Jerry will pick Cotton Eye Joe.
Why the wait? Time out.
Wait,
Cotton Eye Joe has a line dance.
Hold on.
Yeah,
we're talking about the old school when I was in the 1980s kid, and you were at any wedding in South Louisiana and you heard this.
Grab your partner. Don't
you got on the dance floor, boy.
Cotton Eye Joe.
And then you hold people, and then you trot to it, and then y'all don't even know, bruh. This was the OG Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, and then Cupid said I can do it better.
Cupid did say he could do it better. But wait, we gotta get to it. We're gonna keep talking about stuff, but this is
Now what you say? Y'all say what? Stepped in what? The hell you say?
y'all don't even know. This was in the 80s, like y'all.
Nick, I wasn't even alive.
I'm gonna tell you one that the Mrs. likes that I never really learned. She likes y'all ever do the electric slide?
No.
But
I know of it. I used to be a DJ, so
that was a big one that like the older people do. You know, they all it's kind of like the freeze. Like everybody knows it, but you're like, what is this? I guess our generation.
I can run you through the gambit. You could do Pink Cadillac. You could do just having fun by Junior Melanson, which is one of my favorite Cajun line dances. If you went to Cowboys anywhere between the 2010s to the 2020s, you was doing Junior Melanson.
Why is nobody talking about this?
Wait, you break your heart, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Wait, what was it? Junior Melanson? What? Because I gotta hear this. I don't
Junior
know what
Melanson,
that is.
just having fun. The one that goes dun 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 dun.
Having fun, right?
Yeah, having fun. Junior Melanson.
Do I know this one? Oh yeah, I use it on that's what we use every week. Yeah, this is good shit. That's good stuff.
Anyway, shout out to my kids. Their favorite line dance is Flex. That's Cupid's new one. They walk around the house saying, flex your body. Keep in mind, my kids are 3 and 5 years old, which I don't mind. That's
You sure it's not 6, 7?
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're not starting that on here.
Anyway.
No, we're not doing that. By the way, yes, Josh Cole made a good point. DJ Menace will be DJing the tailgate this weekend. They'll have plenty of line dances, including ones that I didn't play, probably for a good reason, because I don't know. Nobody knows how to do the Cotton Eye Joe. Like, that's not a thing anymore, really? Man, I'm telling y'all, I got to show y'all what that's all about. I got one more, and I'm going to play that as an outro tonight because, I like playing. I'm bringing my DJ back. We're not getting monetized for this show tonight for sure because I'm playing all the music that somebody else is going to make money off of. We do have to thank our sponsors one last time before we call it a night. I am trying to pull those up right now, but I am unsuccessful. So until I get those up, I will keep talking like I know what I'm talking about. Guys, somebody say something while I look this up. Josh, Jerry, somebody say something.
Josh isn't here. No.
Y'all say something while I look
We
this
just
up.
want to thank all of our wonderful viewers for tuning in tonight and staying up late. 9:50. We're running a little late again, but it's become a tradition here at Rage and Review. I want to carry the torch and continue, the momentum for this basketball season. Ball State came out. They were a little senior heavy. They showed some veteran leadership. I know we have a bunch of young guys that are meshing together, chemistry things. I want to just make sure I say it once again. We believe in this basketball team, and we expect great things from Coach Q, his staff, and this team. We're figuring things out offensively, but once we get it, figured out, Oh, and this is around the horn. We all said this. The way we played defensively and the athleticism that we have is going to carry us a long way. I wanted to make sure that was recognized in this show.
All right, I've gotten my act together.